Hello guys, welcome to Fiction Quest. So in this video, we will see, what if Naruto saw Issei as unworthy of his power and stole the boosted gear in his harem? If you enjoy these kinds of stories, don't forget to show us some love by hitting the like button and subscribing to the channel. Your support means the world to us. Now, let's start the story. Chapter 1. The Unworthy Vessel. The rain was wrong. It fell with a cold, chemical sting, smelling of asphalt and exhaust, not the rich, wet earth of the fire country. Naruto Uzumaki stood in the shadow of an alley, the neon glow of a language he couldn't read bleeding across the puddles at his feet. His hand, the one wrapped in thick white bandages, clenched at his side. The other, a prosthetic built from Hashirama's cells, felt phantom aches. He was a ghost. One moment, he was standing over the Valley of the End, the battle won, Sasuke's arm lying next to his own. The next, a tear. Not a tear in space, but a tear in him. Kagaya's last, desperate act, a spiteful, parting shot that hadn't killed him, but had displaced him. He was alone. Kurama was silent, his familiar, grumbling presence ripped away. His sage mode could barely feel the world around him. The planet's lifeblood was thin and sickly, a sluggish, polluted stream. Grief was a cold, hard stone in his gut. He was a warrior with no war, a savior with no one left to save. He'd won. He'd lost everything. He'd been walking for 3 days. The city, Kuo, according to a discarded newspaper, was a marvel of glass and steel, yet it felt hollow. The people here, they were soft. Their energy was flickering, weak. Then he felt it. It wasn't chakra, it was something else. A colossal, arrogant, burning rage, chained and sleeping. It felt like one of the Biju, but more ancient. More reptilian. It was a beacon of pure, selfish power in a world of flickering candles. And it was in pain. Naruto's head snapped up. His instincts, honed by a lifetime of war, took over. The grief receded, replaced by the cold, sharp focus of the shinobi. He moved. He didn't run. He simply flowed. One moment he was in the alley, the next he was a blur across a rooftop, then another. He moved through the concrete jungle as if it were a forest, the rain parting around him. He was drawn to a dilapidated, Western-style church perched on a hill, a place that reeked of stale magic and something foul. He settled onto the branch of a massive tree overlooking the church grounds, his presence erased. He was a leaf in the wind. Below him, a battle. It was pathetic. A group of teenagers, children playing at war. A red-haired girl barked orders, her power, a black-red energy of destruction, flaring with impressive force but no control. She was a general, not a soldier. A pretty blonde boy with a sword moved with impressive speed, but his attacks were all flash, no killing edge. He was fighting to look good. A small, white-haired girl was a brawler, Traden. G blows that should have shattered stone, but she held back, her movements clipped by fear. Their opponents were a joke. A woman with black, feathered wings, a fallen angel, his mind supplied, drawing on some strange, innate knowledge the world was feeding him, and a half-dozen lesser-robed figures. Then, he saw the source of the power. A boy, a brown-haired, unremarkable, utterly terrified boy. On his left arm was a red gauntlet, scaled and clawed. It was pulsing with the dragon's power. It was the beacon, and the boy was a fool. Issei. Now, the red-haired girl, Rias, screamed. Hit her with the boosted gear. The boy, Issei, flinched. He held up the gauntlet, but his eyes were locked on the fallen angel, Rainer. Not on her tactics, not on her weaknesses. He was staring at the gap in her leather outfit. Rias Bushu. Issei whined, his voice cracking. If I do this, will you let me, squeeze your boobs? Naruto blinked. He thought he'd misheard. He must have. The world was new. The language was strange. The fallen angel, Rainer, laughed. Is that really what you're thinking about? You disgusting little devil. The red-haired girl's face went pale with fury and embarrassment. Issei, this isn't the time. Quote, but you promised. A reward, for saving his comrades, for surviving. Naruto felt a coldness spread through his chest that had nothing to do with the rain. He remembered his own promises. To Iruka, to Kakashi, to Jiraiya, to Nagato, to his father. Promises of peace, of bringing Sasuke back, of protecting his friends. They were bonds sealed in blood and sacrifice. This, child, was cheapening the very concept. You're pathetic, Rainer sneered, and she was right. She'd been toying with them. Now, she was bored. You don't even deserve that sacred gear. But Rainer's eyes shifted to a blonde-haired girl in a nun's habit, huddled near the church steps, praying. Ossia Argento. She's the real prize. Rainer moved. She was fast, but to Naruto, it was like watching a snail crawl through syrup. She ignored the peerage, ignored Issei, and thrust a spear of pure, brilliant light straight at the praying girl. Kiba, the blonde swordsman, tried to intercept. He was too slow. Kaneko, the white-haired girl, tried to move. She was too far. Rias shouted a word of destruction. It was too late. Issei just watched. His mouth was open, his eyes wide. He was frozen. He didn't even try to move. He had all that power to rival a cage, and he froze. The spear of light struck Ossia Argento in the chest. There was no sound, just a blinding flash and the sickening smell of ozone and burning flesh. The girl gasped, a small, wet sound, and crumpled to the ground. A pair of green rings, a sacred gear, Naruto's mind whispered, flew from her body and into Rainer's waiting hand. Finally, Rainer sighed, admiring the rings. Twilight healing. Now, to finish the rest of you filth. Silence. The Grimoire peerage stared in horror. Rias let out a choked sob. Asia. Issei's gauntlet faded. No way, he whispered. She really. Naruto's eyes narrowed. He'd seen this before. He'd seen Haku die for Zabuza. He'd seen Neji die for him. He'd seen countless shinobi die for their village, for their comrades, for a cause. This girl, Asia, had died for nothing. She died because a lecherous, lazy fool, gifted with a power he didn't deserve, was too busy negotiating the price of a grope to do his one, simple job. The stone of grief in Naruto's gut became a star. A cold, dense, infinitely heavy point of rage. He dropped from the tree. He didn't make a sound. He didn't land in a crater. He simply wasn't in the tree, and then he was on the ground, standing between the fallen angels and the broken devils. The rain, which had been striking his skin, now hissed and evaporated a full inch from his body, turned to steam by the sheer, contained pressure of his chakra. Everyone froze. Who the hell are you? Rainer stammered, taking an involuntary step back. This man, he had no wings. He had no magic circle. But the pressure, it was like standing at the base of a mountain that had just decided to hate her. Naruto didn't look at her. He didn't look at anyone. His gaze was fixed on the small, crumpled form of Asia. He walked past Rias, past Issei, and knelt by the girl's side. He placed 2 fingers on her neck. No pulse. The light spear had not just pierced her, it had disintegrated her vital organs. She was gone. He gently closed her staring, sightless eyes. Another one, he whispered, so softly only he could hear. Another one I couldn't. Quote. He stood up. He turned around. The Grimoire peerage saw his face. It was a mask of absolute, terrifying calm. His eyes, though, his blue eyes were not just cold. They were empty. It was the look of a man who had seen the end of the world and was disappointed by it. You killed her, he said. His voice was flat, not an accusation, a statement of fact. Rainer raised her light spear. Her bravado returning. She was a heretic, a traitor who healed devils. I am Rainer, a leader of the Grimoire, and you will. He moved. It wasn't a chakra dash. It wasn't a teleport. He just crossed the distance. In the span of a single raindrop falling, he was in front of her. Rainer's eyes widened. She hadn't even seen him blur. Naruto's bandaged hand shot out and clamped around her throat. It wasn't a choke. It was a grip. The sound of her neck bones cracking under the pressure was lost in the thunder. He lifted her off the ground. You talk too much, he said. He hadn't even looked at her. His eyes were locked on Issei. The other fallen angels, the robed ones, shouted and hurled their own light spears. They flew at his back. Naruto didn't turn. Shinra Tensei. He didn't say the words. He just willed it. A silent, invisible dome of force erupted from him. It was not the all-powerful push of pain. It was a small, precise, perfect rejection. The light spears didn't just stop. They reversed direction. The robed figures stared in disbelief as their own attacks, now moving at triple their original speed, impaled them. They exploded into black feathers and dust before they even hit the ground. Naruto hadn't flinched. He still held the choking, terrified Rainer. Rias and her peerage were paralyzed. This was impossible. He'd used no magic. He'd chanted no spell. He'd just nullified them. Kiba's hand was shaking on his sword hilt. Kaneko had gone pale, her usual deadpan expression replaced with genuine shock. Akano Himehime, the queen of the peerage, watched. She wasn't just shocked. Her lips were slightly parted, and a faint, dangerous flush crept up her neck. While the others saw a monster, she saw control. Absolute, perfect, effortless dominance. It was beautiful. Please, Rainer rasped, her wings fluttering uselessly. Naruto finally looked at her. He brought his other hand up, the prosthetic, and placed it on her forehead. You're just a symptom, he said. The disease is weakness. He didn't use a Rasengan. He didn't need to. He simply channeled a microscopic amount of his chakra, the raw, untamed, life energy of the 6 paths, directly into her nervous system. For Rainer, it was as if the sun had exploded inside her skull. Her eyes rolled back, her body went rigid, her wings burst into a cloud of black feathers. And then, she simply went limp. Dead. Her mind, her soul, her very essence overloaded and extinguished. He dropped her body. It hit the wet pavement with a dull, final thud. The church grounds were silent again, save for the rain. Naruto stood over the dead fallen angel, his back to the Grimoire peerage. He didn't seem to care they were there. He'd just annihilated a squad of fallen angels as if he were taking out the trash. Rias finally found her voice. Who? What are you? Naruto didn't turn. He just tilted his head, as if listening to her, but dismissing her at the same time. Then, he turned, slowly. He wasn't looking at Rias. He was looking at Issei. Issei Hyodo was on his knees, shaking so hard his teeth chattered. He was staring at Rainer's body, then at the ashes of the others, then at the man walking toward him. You, Issei stammered, you saved us. Naruto stopped, standing directly in front of him. He loomed over the boy, a silent, rain-slicked executioner. No, Naruto said, his voice a low growl. I was too late to save her. He jabbed a finger toward Asia's body. Because of you, me, Issei shrieked, indignant. I didn't kill her. Rainer did. She pulled the trigger, Naruto said, his voice dropping to a dangerous whisper. You loaded the gun. You aimed it. You had the power of a god in your hand, and you were using it to haggle over a piece of ass. That's not. I was just. Issei sputtered, tears of fear and self-pity welling. You were nothing. Naruto cut him off. I've seen men with a fraction of your power die to protect their comrades. I've seen children fight harder than you. I've seen cowards show more courage. He knelt, bringing himself face to face with the weeping boy. I know that power inside you, Naruto said, his voice vibrating. I can feel it. It's a dragon, a being of will and dominance. And it's chained to you. A whimpering, perverted, worthless child. It's an insult. Bushu. Issei cried, looking to Rias. Help me. Rias took a step forward, her red aura flaring. That's enough. He is my servant. By my name, Rias Grimoire, I command you to stand down. Naruto ignored her. His bandaged hand, the one that had crushed Rainer's throat, slammed onto Issei's chest. It wasn't an attack. It was a seal. Black, swirling script, Uzumaki Fuinjutsu, erupted from his palm, spreading across Issei's chest like a spider's web. It wasn't magic. It was older. It was law. Issei screamed. It was not a scream of pain. It was a scream of violation. What are you doing? Rias shrieked, launching a ball of destructive energy. Naruto didn't even look. A golden, spectral arm, formed of pure energy, erupted from his back, a chakra arm, and slapped the attack aside. Inside Issei's soul, a roar of pure, apocalyptic fury echoed. WHO dares to lay hands on my host. Naruto's eyes glowed, his pupils shifting to the cross-slit of his sage mode. He spoke, not to Issei, but to the dragon within. You chose poorly, he said, his voice layered with his own in a faint, guttural echo. I'm correcting your mistake. It's burning. Issei shrieked, clawing at his own chest. The black Fuinjutsu script converged on Issei's left arm. It was pulling. It was severing the bond between host and gear, a bond meant to be permanent, broken only by death. Naruto was rewriting that rule. You can't. Issei sobbed. It's mine. It's my power. Quote, you never earned it. Naruto growled, and he pulled. Issei's arm dissolved into red light. The boosted gear, the crimson gauntlet, was ripped from his soul. It hung in the air between them. A thing of pure, divine power, thrumming with rage and confusion. Insolent, mortal, you will be incinerated. Didrag, the Red Dragon Emperor, roared. Be silent, Naruto commanded. He grabbed the floating gauntlet with his prosthetic hand. He then lifted his own bandaged, living arm. Without hesitation, he slammed the divine weapon onto his own limb. The moment it made contact, all sound died. Naruto's back arched. A pillar of crimson and gold energy shot into the storm clouds, parting them. The rain stopped. The pressure was so intense that Kiba and Kaneko were forced to their knees. Rias's destructive aura was snuffed out like a candle. Akano was panting, a bead of sweat rolling down her temple, her eyes glazed with a terrifying, ecstatic awe. Naruto's body was on fire. His Uzumaki blood, his Sage Mode, his Six Paths chakra, they all went to war with the draconic energy. They tore at each other, a battle of concepts. Life versus domination, will versus power. Get out of my head. Didrag bellowed in his mind. This is my body, Naruto's voice replied, a steel wall in the storm. You are a guest, or you are a prisoner. It makes no difference to me. On the outside, Naruto hadn't made a sound. He just stood there, his body shaking, steam rolling off him. The red gauntlet was merging with his arm, the bandages burning away. The scales shifted, the green gem at the center pulsing. Not with Issei's weak, perverted desire, but with Naruto's own sun-like chakra. The gauntlet changed. It became sleeker, more defined. The red was deeper, and the gem now shone with a golden-orange light. Like a trapped sun. Boost. The familiar, mechanical voice of the gear sounded. But it was different. It was loud. It was clear. It was powerful. Naruto let out a slow, controlled breath. The pillar of light vanished. The pressure subsided. He stood. The boosted gear was on his right arm, feeling as natural as his own hand. He looked at Issei. The boy was still on his knees, staring at the empty space where his arm had been. His arm was still there, but it was just flesh. The power was gone. His eyes were dull, his soul fractured. He was an empty, broken shell. No, Issei whispered. He touched his arm. He tried to summon the power. Nothing. He tried to think of Rias's breasts. Nothing. The fire of desire, the very core of his being, was gone. No. No, please, give it back. Give it back. You're a monster, Rias Grimori whispered, her voice trembling with a mixture of terror and absolute hatred. You mutilated my servant. Naruto finally looked at her. His golden slit Sage Mode eyes bored into hers. I took a weapon from a child who was pointing it at his own head, he said. He turned and walked back to Asia's body. What are you doing now? Kiba asked, his sword half drawn. He was afraid, but he was loyal. Naruto knelt again. He placed his prosthetic hand on the girl's chest, over the gaping, light-burned wound. A faint, emerald green aura, the very essence of life and creation, a power beyond gods or devils, flowed from his palm. You failed her, Naruto said, his voice quiet. You let her die for nothing. You're a king, Rias Grimori. Your pieces are your responsibility. You failed in yours. The wound began to close. The flesh re-knit. The charred organs reformed. Color rushed back into Asia's pale face. Her chest twitched. Rias gasped. That's impossible. She's dead. Not even Finek's tears. Don't compare my power to your trinkets, Naruto said. With a sudden, sharp gasp, Asia Argento's eyes flew open. She coughed, water and blood spattering the pavement. She looked around, confused, terrified. What happened? I saw a light. Naruto scooped her up into his arms, bridal style. She was light as a feather. He settled her against his chest. You're safe now, he said, his voice surprisingly gentle. He stood and faced the assembled devils. Rias, Akano, Kiba, Kaneko. And the broken, weeping form of Issei Hyodo. This girl is an innocent, Naruto declared. She was caught in your selfish game. She is no longer part of it. He began to walk away, carrying Asia. Wait, Rias shouted. You can't just. You just attacked my servant. You stole a sacred gear. The underworld will not stand for this. My brother is a Mao. He will hunt you down. Naruto stopped at the edge of the church grounds. He didn't turn around. Let him come, he said. He can find me. If he's worthy, he might even find me a challenge. He vanished into the rain. Far away, in a place that was not a place. A room of white, non-Euclidean geometry and humming light. A being made of cold logic and golden light observed a floating constellation of data. Sensor Prime, the being's voice chimed, a harmony of perfect, emotionless notes. Report, quote, a second, smaller being of light pulsed. The event has stabilized, architect. The flaw, Sacred Gear 13, boosted gear, has been forcibly unanchored from its designated host. Unanchored, by whom? Quote, an anomaly, a power source unregistered by the system. It is chaotic. It is not holy, nor demonic. It is not draconic, nor natural. It is all of them. It has bonded. The anomaly has bonded with the flaw. The architect was silent for a long moment. The humming of the room deepened. A new variable, the architect chimed. The system was designed to balance itself. This is a heresy, a foreign code. It threatens the Great Reset. What are your orders, architect? The anomaly must be observed. The system must be cleansed of its influence. Send a hoplite, observe, analyze, and, if necessary, purge. Chapter 1 end. Chapter 2. The Dragon's New Roar. The main hall of the Occult Research Club building was thick with the smell of old wood, expensive tea, and bitter. Suffocating failure. Rias Grimori stood by the window, her back rigid, watching the rain lash the dark campus grounds. Every line of her body screamed tension. Her red hair, usually immaculate, was damp and frizzy from the night's disaster. She was the king, the leader, the heiress. And she had been rendered utterly, humiliatingly irrelevant. He just took it, Kiba Yuto murmured. His voice tight. He was pacing by the empty fireplace, his hand clenching and unclenching on the hilt of his sword. Rias, his power, it wasn't demonic. It wasn't holy. It felt elemental. It was monstrous. Kaneko Tuju stated, her voice flat. She was perched on the arm of the velvet sofa, her small fists clenched so hard her knuckles were white. She was usually the most stoic. But a fine tremor ran through her. He didn't even flinch. He killed them. On the sofa itself, Issei Hyodo was curled in a fetal position, staring sightlessly at the brocade pattern. He was wrapped in a blanket, shivering, though the room was warm. His arm was fine. Physically, he was untouched. But his eyes, they were dead. The spark, the all-consuming, idiotic, driving perversion that had defined him, was extinguished. Rias had tried to use her magic, to use a phoenix tear. Nothing worked. The wound wasn't in his body. It was in his soul. Rias finally turned. Her blue-green eyes were bright with unshed, furious tears. He didn't just take it, Kiba. He mutilated my servant. He stole a part of his soul. He defied me. In my territory. He also saved us, Kiba offered. Though the words tasted like ash. Rainer would have, if he hadn't saved us. Rias's voice was a low, dangerous hiss. He let Asia die. He stood there and watched. He wasn't there, Kaneko corrected, not looking at her. He arrived after. He didn't help. Rias snapped. He came. He murdered. He maimed. And he healed. Her voice broke on the last word. The impossible, casual miracle he had performed. He had resurrected the dead. An act that was supposed to be the sole domain of God, and he had done it like one might reset a dislocated shoulder. It was a violation of all known laws. He's a monster, Rias declared, her aura flaring, a crimson-black wave of destruction that made the teacups rattle. And I will not let him. You will do nothing, Rias-sama. The voice was cool, crisp, and cut through the room like a shard of ice. Rias froze. Her aura vanished, snuffed out. Graphia. In the center of the room, a silver-haired woman in a French maid's uniform stood with impossible poise. She hadn't been there a second ago. Graphia Lucifuge, the strongest queen, and wife of Searsex Lucifer, regarded the room with cold, dispassionate eyes. Her gaze swept over the broken peerage, lingered on the catatonic Issei, and finally settled on Rias. "My apologies for the intrusion," she said, her voice devoid of any apology. But Lord Lucifer felt an immediate intervention was necessary. "Graphia, a stray, something, has attacked my peerage," Rias said, straightening, trying to reclaim her authority. "He's stolen Issei's sacred gear. I was just about to report." "We are aware," Graphia interrupted. "The energy signature of the Welsh dragon, which we have monitored for centuries, did not just transfer. It did not go dormant. It vanished from the system." The room went cold. "Vanished," Heba whispered. "What does that mean?" "It means," Graphia said, her gray eyes narrowing, "that it is no longer bound by the laws of the sacred gear system. It is not just in a new host. It has merged. It is no longer a divine construct. It is something new, something the underworld, the Grigori, and heaven have no way to track or predict." Lord Searsex is concerned. Concerned. Rias's voice was sharp. He should be furious. He should be here, preparing to annihilate this thief. "Lord Lucifer's fury is not the issue," Graphia said. "The issue, Rias-sama, is that 5 minutes ago, an energy spike was detected in Kuo. An energy spike that dwarfed the one you felt when the boosted gear was stolen. An energy spike that, for a brief moment, our long-range sensors registered as being on par with Lord Lucifer and Lord Ajuka combined." Heba stumbled back, his hand flying to his mouth. Kaniko's eyes went wide with genuine terror. Rias's blood ran cold. "Combined? No. That's impossible. That's God level. That is what Lord Lucifer is currently on his way to ascertain," Graphia said. "He has requested your presence. You will explain this." Her hand gestured to the room, to Issei, to their failure. "And you will do it, now." A crimson Grimoire teleportation circle flared to life on the floor. Rias looked at it, then at her broken servant. And her face hardened. This wasn't just about her. It was about her family's honor. "Akeno," Rias said. "Where is Akeno?" Graphia's gaze was like a chip of ice. "Your queen, Rias-sama. She never returned with you. She is, at this moment, standing on a rooftop half a kilometer from here, getting soaked, and watching the warehouse district. She declined my invitation to join us." Rias's face, already pale, went ashen. "What? It seems," Graphia said, "your peerage is not as cohesive as you believed." The warehouse smelled of rust, old oil, and damp concrete. Naruto had found a pile of clean, thick packing blankets in a dry storage room, and had arranged them into a makeshift bed. He'd used a precise burst of chakra to ignite a small, contained fire in an old oil drum. The fire burned with a clean, blue-white light, giving off intense heat but, miraculously, no smoke. Asia Argento sat huddled in one of the blankets, her eyes wide, staring at the magical fire. She was trembling, part from the cold, part from the shock. Where are we?" she asked, her voice a small, bird-like thing. Am I in hell? Are you a devil?" Naruto sat cross-legged on the other side of the fire. He was wringing the water from his orange and black jacket. The crimson gauntlet on his arm was inert, looking like a mere costume piece, but he could feel the weight of it. A dense, sleeping core of rage. "No," he said, his voice quiet. He'd shed the cold fury from the churchyard. Now, he just felt tired. The familiar, bone-deep weariness of a war that never ended. "You're not in hell. You're in a warehouse in Kuo. And no, I'm not a devil. But, I died," she whispered, her hands coming up to her chest, feeling the intact fabric of her nun's habit. "There was no hole, no blood. I saw the light. Rainer-san. She killed me." "She did," Naruto said, his voice blunt. "It was better to be honest. I brought you back." Her eyes filled with a terrifying, reverent light. You're an angel. Did God?" "No," Naruto said, more sharply than he intended. He looked away, at the fire. "I'm not an angel, and God had nothing to do with it." He flexed his prosthetic hand. "The one made of living, white cells. It's just a skill I have. Asia stared at him, her mind trying to process the impossible. He wasn't a devil. He wasn't an angel. He killed monsters. He healed the dead. He was a walking contradiction. Why? She finally asked. Why what? Why? Save me. I'm a heretic. A witch. The church. Rainer-san. They used you. Naruto finished. He'd pieced it together from the battle. You have a power. Twilight healing. They wanted it, so they took it. She flinched, as if he'd struck her. I just wanted to help people. And they used that, Naruto said. He looked at her, his blue eyes sharp. I know what that's like. To have a power inside you that everyone else wants. To be seen as a tool. Or a monster. Or a weapon. He clenched his bandaged fist. They see everything but you. Asia's breath hitched. He understood. In that moment, this terrifying stranger, this killer, this savior. He was the first person who had ever truly seen her. What do you want? She asked, her voice trembling. From you, nothing. He stood up and walked to the rusted loading door, peering out at the rain-slicked street. You're not a tool. You're a person. You can choose. What do you want to do? It was a question she'd never been asked. Her entire life had been a series of orders. Pray, heal, obey, be grateful. I don't know, she cried, fresh tears spilling. I have nowhere to go. The church, I can't go back. The fallen, and those devils, they failed you, Naruto said. He walked back and knelt in front of her. He was still intimidating, a mountain of contained power, but his eyes were clear. He offered her a simple, unbreakable vow. Then stay with me. I will protect you. No one will use you again. She stared at him, at the absolute certainty in his voice. Protect me. That's the promise. It was all she had ever wanted. Not power, not riches. Just that. She nodded, a small, jerky movement. Okay, Naruto-san. A flicker of a smile, the first in what felt like a lifetime, touched Naruto's lips. Good. The moment was broken. Boost. The sound was a psychic shout. The gauntlet on his arm flared, a single, violent pulse of crimson light. Asia yelped and scrambled back. Naruto's face tightened. The rage, it wasn't just a sleeping core. It was a prison, and the prisoner was waking up. And it was furious. Asia, he said, his voice a low growl. Stay by the fire. Don't move. Don't come near me, no matter what you hear. Understand? Naruto-san, what's wrong? My new partner, and I need to have a talk. He sat down, crossing his legs. He closed his eyes, and the world dissolved. Naruto opened his eyes in a hurricane. This was not the familiar, damp sewer of his mindscape, with Kurama's cage. This was a storm, a sky of roiling crimson and black, split by jagged, green-gold lightning. The ground was a churning sea of molten rage, and in the center of it, a being that made the mountains of his homeland look like pebbles. Insect. The voice was not a sound. It was a force. It was the rumble of the planet's core, the roar of an exploding star. A dragon, larger than the entire village of Konoha, uncoiled from the sea of rage. He was a monument of red scales, each the size of a house. His spine was ridged with golden plates, and his eyes were twin suns of emerald fire. This was Didrake, the Welsh dragon, the Red Dragon Emperor. Why Didrake Gok? You dare, mortal flee, to forcibly bind me. Didrake bellowed, lowering his head until his snout was inches from Naruto. The heat from his nostrils alone was scorching. Who stood against God and the Satans. Whose battle with Albion tore the fabric of the world. I am reduced to this. A prisoner in the soul of what are you? Naruto stood on a small, stable island of black rock, the only calm point in the raging mindscape. He didn't flinch. He didn't bow. He just crossed his arms and looked the god-sized dragon in the eye. You were sealed in a toy, Naruto said, his voice cutting through the din. Chained to a pervert Who's greatest ambition was to fondle breasts. You weren't standing against anyone. You were a battery. The dragon roared. It was a sound of pure, apocalyptic fury. Insolence. Didrake opened his maw and unleashed a torrent of fire. It was not mere flame. It was the concept of domination. A sea of green-gold energy designed to incinerate not just the body, but the soul. Naruto just stood there. He didn't move. He didn't even blink. He let the fire wash over him. And it parted. The golden, sun-like chakra of the six paths flared to life around him, a gentle, shimmering cloak. The dragon's fire, a force that could vaporize mountains, simply flowed around him. It was like water trying to drown a stone. D-Drag's eyes widened. The fire stopped. What is this? This chakra, it is not demonic. It is not holy. It rejects me. It burns me. It's mine, Naruto said. And now, you are too. He took a step forward, the black rock path extending under his feet as he walked toward the colossal dragon. I've had a tenant before. He was bigger. An image, raw and powerful, erupted from Naruto's mind and blasted into D-Drag's. The image of a snarling, nine-tailed demon fox, a being of pure, ancient malice and chakra so vast it was a world unto itself. D-Drag recoiled. It was an involuntary, physical flinch. The beast of nine. You contained that. He knew that energy. All ancient beings did. It was a shard of the original. He was angrier, Naruto continued, and a lot smarter than you. And he learned. He learned that we could be partners. Or he could be my prisoner. I gave him the choice. He was at the dragon's snout now, so close he could touch the building-sized scales. Now I'm giving it to you. D-Drag was shaking, but with rage, not fear. You compare me to a mere beast. I am a heavenly dragon. I am. You're a voice in a glove. Naruto cut him off, his voice cold as steel. Your last host was weak, so you fed his weakness. You let him wallow in perversion. You had no ambition, no pride. You just existed, wallowing in your own legend. Naruto's eyes narrowed. You're lazy. That word, that simple word, it broke Hero the dragon's millennia of arrogance. Lazy. The roar was so loud it cracked the very sky of the mindscape. I will devour your soul. D-Drag lunged. He wasn't breathing fire. He was going to eat this insolent mortal. His jaws, wide enough to swallow a castle, snapped shut. And were stopped. Naruto stood in the dragon's mouth, his single, bandaged hand pressed against a tooth the size of a mountain. He was straining, but he was holding. His eyes changed. The pupils elongated, becoming the cross slits of his completed sage mode. You think you're the only one who's divine. He grunted. He clapped his hands together. Senpo. Cho-Odama Rasengan. A sphere of pure, swirling, natural energy, compressed and perfect, appeared in his hand. It was the size of a small moon. But he didn't throw it. He didn't attack. Instead, he channeled it. He slammed the Rasengan into D-Drag's tooth. But it didn't explode. The energy flowed. The perfect, balanced, life energy of the world, drawn and harmonized by Naruto, poured into the dragon's body. For D-Drag, it was an agony unlike any he had ever known. His own power was chaotic, selfish, a vortex of domination and rage. This was balance. This was harmony. This was life. It was like injecting pure sunlight into a being of pure shadow. It didn't just hurt. It was rewriting him. AAAAARRRGGGHHH. It burns. What is this? Stop. Stop it. The dragon thrashed, trying to shake Naruto off, but the sage energy was already flooding his system. The crimson sea of the mindscape was being calmed. The raging storms were dissipating. A new, golden light was mixing with the red. It's balance, Naruto's voice echoed, now seemingly coming from everywhere at once. Your power is just rage. It's incomplete. It's a hammer. With me, it can be a sword. A shield. A world. Naruto released the attack and landed on the dragon's massive snout, standing directly between his house-sized, emerald eyes. So, choose, Naruto said, his voice calm amidst the dragon's panting. Be my partner, and we will show this world what true power really is. Or be my battery, and I will drain you dry to protect what's mine. Choose. D-Drag was silent. His massive body was shuddering. The new, sage-infused energy was settling in his core, merging with his own. He didn't feel weaker. He felt stronger, more stable. The all-consuming rage was still there, but it was focused. You Ddrake's voice was a low, stunned rumble. You are no mere mortal. You are no devil. You are no god. What are you? I'm Naruto Uzumaki, he said, holding out his hand. The crimson gauntlet formed over it, now with a faint, golden sheen. And I'm your new host. Now, boost me, for real. Ddrake looked at the small figure, at the unshakable will. This was not a host. This was not a master. This was a rival, a true partner, the kind he had dreamed of for 10,000 years. Opening square bracket ... Boost. The sound was a quiet agreement. Boost. The power doubled. Boost. 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 The power didn't just double. It compounded. It squared. It exploded. In the real world, Naruto's eyes snapped open. The effect was instantaneous. His body, his entire being, detonated. A pillar of pure, golden red energy erupted from him. It punched a hole straight through the warehouse roof. It shot into the night sky, a solid, thrumming column of power that parted the storm clouds for miles. The rain didn't just stop, it vaporized. The concrete floor of the warehouse didn't just crack, it liquefied in a perfect circle around him, before re-solidifying as black, glassy obsidian. Asia was slammed against the far wall by the sheer pressure, pinned, but a small, golden bubble of Naruto's chakra had formed around her, protecting her from the raw force. The steel loading doors, 50 feet away, didn't just blow open. They were shredded, reduced to a fine metal dust that was instantly superheated and fused to the pavement. And in the now open doorway, they stood. Rias Grimori, her peerage, and Graphia Lucifuge. They were joined by a tall man with the same, impossible crimson hair as Rias. He was handsome, with kind eyes, and a gentle smile. He had one hand raised, a swirling, roiling sphere of pure black-red destruction held ready. But his kind eyes were wide with utter, profound shock. His power of destruction, the very concept of annihilation, was trembling. It was afraid of the golden red aura. This was Sirzek's Lucifer, one of the four great Satans, a being of god-like power. And he was stunned. Remarkable, Sirzek said, his voice calm, but his smile was gone. He slowly, carefully, dismissed his own magic. Lord Lucifer, step back. Graphia snapped, her maid uniform shifting as she entered a combat stance. The energy reading it's breaking the scale. It's unstable. The golden red aura, the storm of power, receded. It didn't vanish. It sank back into Naruto's skin, as if a sponge were soaking up an ocean. The boosted gear on his arm hummed, its gem glowing like a miniature sun. Naruto stood up, his body steaming. He looked at the newcomers. You must be the brother, he said. Sirzek's eyes met his. There was no fear, just a deep, bottomless curiosity. I am Sirzek's Lucifer. I believe you have something that belongs to my sister. And something that belongs, well, to a legend. Naruto took a step, placing himself in front of Asia. What belongs to you, he said, his voice still layered with the echo of the dragon, is what you can protect. Akano Himahima, who had been standing just behind Sirzek's, let out a small, quiet, almost ecstatic sigh. This was the confrontation, not of a devil king and a thief, but of two apex predators. Sirzek's was not an idiot. He'd come here expecting to find a powerful, stray devil, or a new, arrogant fallen, or maybe even an agent of heaven. He had found a warlord. He didn't demand, he negotiated. The boy you disarmed, Issei Hyodo. He is a member of my sister's peerage. An act of aggression against him is an act of aggression against the House of Grimori. He was a liability, Naruto countered, his voice flat. He got this one killed. He nodded back to Asia. I corrected the problem. You've broken a sacred law, Mr. Naruto Uzumaki. Naruto-san. You have forcibly stolen a sacred gear. A Longinus, no less. This destabilizes the balance of power between the three factions. Your balance is a joke, Naruto said, his bluntness silencing the entire Grimori peerage. I've been in this world for 3 days. I saw your balance tonight. It's a group of children playing at war. A handful of weaklings, led by an arrogant girl, almost got all of them killed. Her own servant was the cause. Sirzek's smile was thin. This was difficult, because he knew, in his heart, that Naruto was right. Brother. Rias's voice was a shriek. He's the one. He attacked Issei. He called me. He's a monster. Be silent, Rias. Sirzex didn't shout. His voice was suddenly cold as iron. Rias flinched, her mouth snapping shut as if she'd been slapped. The casual, brotherly kindness was gone. This was the Mao. He turned his full attention back to Naruto. You are an unknown, Naruto-san. You are wielding a power that, I will freely admit, rivals my own. You are harboring a girl who should be dead. I cannot allow you to roam free. Try and stop me. It wasn't a threat. It was a statement. A simple invitation. Sirzex and Naruto looked at each other. The air grew thick again. Akeno watched. Her breath hitched, her eyes alight. Kiba was sweating. This would be a fight that would not just level Kuo. It might break Japan. And Sirzex, perhaps for the first time in his life, was not certain he would win. He broke the gaze. He let out a slow breath. And he smiled. The kind brother was back. No, he said, I don't think I will. I think, I'll make you an offer instead. He changed tactics. What do you want? Naruto was visibly surprised. He'd been bracing for a fight. Want? You're a warrior. I know the type. You have no banner. You have no place. You're protecting this girl. You need resources. You need a place to be. Sirzex gestured to his sister. My sister is inexperienced. She was given this territory as a training ground. Tonight, she has proven she is not ready. Rias looked like she'd been gutted. Brother, please. Kuo, however, is still Grimoire territory, Sirzex continued, ignoring her. Stay here. Be an observer. An ally to the House of Grimoire. He raised a hand as Naruto's eyes narrowed. It's a political lie, Sirzex said, with disarming honesty. We will announce that you are a consultant. A distant human ally, here to observe the fragile peace. In exchange, you will be left alone. By all three factions. I will personally guarantee it. Naruto considered. He was in a new world. He had a girl to protect. He needed information. He needed a base. This was a truce. A political solution. It was a gilded cage, but the door was open. And her. Naruto gestured to Asia, who was peeking out from behind him. Sirzex. Eyes softened with genuine sadness. Asia Argento. Excommunicated by the church. Killed by the fallen. Brought back. By you. She is, by all laws, astray. But by my law, she is yours to protect. She can enroll in Kuo Academy. She can be a normal girl. She, too, will be under my protection. It was the perfect solution. It saved Rias's face barely. It gave Sirzex time to analyze this new, terrifying, Naruto, piece on the board. And it gave Naruto a home. Fine, Naruto said, I'll stay. I'll observe. But I don't answer to her. He pointed a definitive, final finger at Rias. I answer to no one. And if anyone, his gaze swept over Kiba, Kaneko, and Rias, tries to harm her, or use her, they will answer to me, Sirzex finished. Agreed. He turned, his smile gone, his Mao face back. Rias, you and your peerage will return to the club. We will discuss your failure, in private. In a crimson flash, Rias, Kiba, and Kaneko were gone. Rias's last look at Naruto was one of pure, unadulterated hatred. Akeno, however, had lingered. She had separated from the group. She walked, not toward her master, but toward Naruto. She stopped a few feet away. The rain had plastered her black hair to her face. She was, by any measure, stunning. But her eyes, her violet, lightning-flecked eyes, were dark. That was beautiful, she whispered, her voice a low, throaty purr. The way you tamed him. The control. She licked her lips. I do so love a man who knows how to take what he wants. Akeno. Graphia's voice was sharp. Akeno smiled. A slow, dangerous, promising smile, then gave Naruto a small, formal bow. I look forward to observing you. Naruto-san. She vanished in a flash of Grimoire red. Naruto was left staring, slightly confused. She's weird. Graphia stepped forward, her professional mask back in place. She handed Naruto a small, mundane, silver key. This is for an apartment. The Ryote building, penthouse suite. It is 2 blocks from the school. It is secure, magically shielded, and has been paid for. Your new identity, Naruto Uzumaki, a transfer student, will be active by morning. Asia Sans will be as well. Naruto took the key. A final word of advice, Graphia said, her voice low. Lord Searsex may be fascinated by you. I am not. I serve the house of Gimburi. You have humiliated Ria-sama and broken her peerage. Tread very, very carefully. Or what? Naruto asked, his eyes flat. Graphia's gaze was steel. Or you will find that even a god can be cleaned. She vanished. Naruto was left alone with Asia in the ruined, moonlit warehouse. The adrenaline faded, leaving him empty. He looked at the key. He looked at the terrified, brave girl huddled in the blanket. He let out a breath he felt he'd been holding since he'd arrived in this world. Come on, he said, his voice softer than she'd ever heard it. Let's go home. Asia looked at him, this man of impossible contradictions. And for the first time in her life, she felt safe. She stood, and she took his hand. Okay, Naruto-san. Far away. The white, geometric room. The architect observed the playback. The conversation. The deal. The anomaly. Naruto Uzumaki has allied with the devil faction. The architect's perfect voice chimed. He has been given a base. This complicates the purgation. Architect, the sensor prime pulsed. The hoplite has arrived in Kuo. It is awaiting orders. It has calibrated its primary weapon to the anomalies, life, energy. It can nullify his healing. The architect paused. His power, it is not just life. It is harmony. He fused the flaws, domination, energy with his own. He builds. He fixes. A new, discordant note entered the architect's chime. A feeling. Disgust. This is the very essence of heresy. The system was built on conflict. Holy versus demonic. Dragon versus dragon. This, harmony, is a disease. The hoplite is no longer an observation tool. New orders, architect. Purge the anomaly. Purge the flaw. And purge the heretic, Ossia Argento. He has corrupted. The system must be cleaned. Chapter 2 end. Chapter 3. The heretic's answer. The penthouse apartment was an insult of glass and sterile, beige luxury. It was a cage, no matter how gilded. It had 3 bedrooms, a kitchen with appliances so sleek they looked alien, and a floor-to-ceiling window that offered a king's view of a city Naruto felt no connection to. He had been here for 2 days. 2 days of agonizing, superficial peace. Ossia Argento, at least, was thriving. She had claimed the smallest bedroom, but spent most of her time in the kitchen. A bright yellow apron tied neatly around her. She was humming. It was a small, hesitant sound, but it was real. She was making breakfast. Tamagoyaki, and the smell of it was the only thing tea had made the apartment feel remotely like a home. Naruto-san, she called, her voice bright. It's almost ready. I hope you like it. I'm not very good, but I'm learning. Naruto sat cross-legged on the center of the plush white carpet, his eyes closed. He was in his sage mode, a state he now held almost permanently. The orange markings around his eyes were a constant fixture. In this world, with its thin, polluted natural energy, he had to actively draw it in, to filter it. But it was necessary. It was the only way he could feel the world. And the world felt wrong. It smells good, Asia, he said, not opening his eyes. His senses were stretched thin, a web across the entire city. He felt the weak, flickering life of the humans. He felt the arrogant, sulphurous thrum of the Grimoire peerage in the school. He felt something else. A cold, sterile, empty spot in the city's energy. A place that felt like a surgical cut. You're doing it again, aren't you? Asia asked. She came out, wiping her hands on her apron. Her smile faltering, staring. But your eyes are closed. Naruto let the sage mode recede, and the world snapped back to its dull, flat reality. He opened his eyes, just checking the perimeter. Old habit. Quote, It's safe here, isn't it? She asked, her gaze dropping to the floor. That man, Searsex-san, he promised. He promised to protect you. That just means you're a valuable asset. It's not the same as being safe, Naruto said bluntly. He stood, his joints popping. He walked over and took a piece of the egg from the pan. It was good, simple, real. This is good, thank you. Asia beamed, her previous anxiety forgotten. I'm glad. I want to be useful. After all you've done. You don't have to be useful, Asia, he said, his voice softer. You just have to be. That's enough. He turned to the window. The school, Huo Academy, sat on the hill, a monument to their fragile new lives. They were to enroll tomorrow. A transfer student, and his ward. A political lie. He felt the gauntlet on his arm, a phantom weight even when it was hidden. Diedrag had been silent since their agreement. He wasn't a partner. He was a spectator, a furious, sullen god chained in the cheap seats. This world is bland, the dragon's voice suddenly rumbled in his mind. It was a vast, gravelly sound, like a mountain clearing its throat. There is no rage, no ambition, no endless war, just tiny, flickering lives. It's boring. I miss the roar of battle. I miss Albion. Get used to the quiet, Naruto thought back, his mental voice sharp. Don't. Your boredom isn't my problem. HMPH. Your chakra, it feels clean. But it's thin. You are a floodlight in a world of candles, boy. You stand out. And things that stand out get swatted. Naruto's eyes narrowed. Asia, stay here. Lock the door. Don't open it for anyone but me. What? Why? Naruto-san, you're not leaving. The panic was instant. I'm just going to the school, he said. To register. Early. He didn't wait for a reply. He opened the sliding glass door to the balcony, and in the next second, he was gone, a golden-orange blur leaping from the rooftop, silent as the wind. The Occult Research Club was suffocating in humiliation. Rias Gramory sat at her desk, her king's piece on the chessboard in front of her. She was staring at it, her hatred a palpable force. Her brother's words had been a slap. Inexperienced. Not ready. He hadn't just undermined her. He had neutered her. He's a monster, she seethed, for what felt like the 100th time. Sirzex is wrong. He should have been annihilated, not invited. Kiba Yudo stood by the window, the same one Rias had stared out of 2 nights ago. He was watching the empty school grounds. Bushu. With respect, what you're saying is impossible. His voice was low, defeated. We saw it. Graphia-san. Even she was afraid. His power. It made Lord Sirzex pause. We can't fight him. So we just, what? Roll over. Rias slammed her fist on the desk. He mutilated Issei. He broke my peerage. He holds Diedrag, a power that was mine, and he's just here. Issei is. Kiba trailed off. He'd seen Issei this morning. The boy was in a magical coma in the Gramory medical ward. A drooling, empty-eyed husk. The sight had made Kiba sick. He's a thief, Rias whispered, her voice breaking. He's efficient. The voice came from the doorway. Akano Himahima glided in, carrying a tea service. She had a faint, serene smile on her face that was utterly, maddeningly out of place. Akano, where have you been? Rias demanded. Here, President, Akano said, her smile widening. I was just observing. From a distance. Our new ally is very diligent. He's been scanning the city with his energy all morning. Such control. You're impressed by him. Rias was aghast. Akano, he's our enemy. Is he? Akano set the tea down. He has an agreement with your brother. He's protecting Ossia Argento. He destroyed Rainer, who we were failing to defeat. He seems a force of order. A very, very violent and terrifying order. Rias stopped. The ground was shaking. It was a low, subtle vibration. Not an earthquake. It was a hum. A deep, bass note that was so low it was felt more than heard. Kiba's head snapped up. What is that? Kaneko Tuju, who had been silent in the corner, suddenly shot to her feet, her cat ears popping out. Her eyes were wide. School, field, she said, her voice tight. Something is wrong. It feels cold. Naruto landed on the edge of the academy's running track, his coat flaring out behind him. The hum, it was coming from here. The center of the football field. The air was distorting. It was like a heat haze, but cold. The grass was withering, turning black and brittle. Boy, Diedrag's voice was sharp. I do not know what that is. It has no smell, no life. It feels like the void. I know, Naruto thought. This was the cold spot he'd sensed. The air tore open. It didn't explode. It unzipped. A silent, geometric tear in reality opened, and it stepped out. It was 15 feet tall. It was made of a material that looked like pristine white porcelain, jointed with bands of shifting, golden light. It had no face, just a single, pulsing, sapphire blue optic in the center of its head. It held no weapon. It just stood there. The hum was coming from it. Kaneko, Kiba, and Rias burst out of the clubhouse. Akeno followed, her expression no longer serene, but one of deep, analytic curiosity. What, in the name of the Mao, is that? Rias breathed. The creature, the machine, ignored them. Its blue optic scanned the area. It passed over Rias. It passed over Kiba. It passed over Naruto. It paused on him for a fraction of a second. Then, it looked past him, toward the city. Its head tilted. A voice chimed from its body, a harmony of perfect, emotionless, multi-tonal notes. Target: Heretic, Ossia Argento. Location: acquired. Purge protocol. Initiate. The hoplite took a step. The ground groaned. Naruto was in front of it in a flash. She's not yours to purge. The hoplite stopped. Its optic focused on him. It tilted its head again, as if confused. Obstruction. Detected. Energy. Unknown. Anomaly. Detected. Classification. Threat. It raised one, perfectly white, porcelain hand. Query: will you step aside? No. Response: regrettable. Initiating. Recalibration. The blue optic flashed. A wave of cobalt blue energy, perfectly silent, washed over the entire campus. It was the most terrifying sensation Rias Grimori had ever felt. Her power of destruction vanished. It wasn't blocked. It was gone. Her demonic energy, the very core of her being, she couldn't feel it. My magic, she stammered. Kiba let out a choked sound. I can't summon my sword. I can't feel my power. Kaneko was pale. Me neither. I'm just me. They were human. Weak, powerless, fragile humans. Akeno, however, was fascinated. It's an anti-magic field. No. An anti-supernatural field. It nullifies us. The hoplite's optic focused on Naruto. It had felt the other, demonic, signatures vanish. But his had not. It was diminished, yes. The cold was trying to drain him. But his chakra, the sheer volume of it, was like an ocean. The anti-magic field was like a single, small drain. It was annoying, but it wasn't stopping him. Anomaly. Resistant. Heretical. Adaptation. Required. Purge. The hoplite moved. It was not fast. It just walked, relentless, toward the city, toward Asia. I told you, Naruto growled. No, he moved. His speed was not a chakra dash, just pure, physical muscle. He was still faster than anything they'd ever seen. He drove his fist back and punched the machine in its chest. It was like punching a mountain. A clang that shook his bones. His hand stung, the knuckles raw. The blue light flashed where he'd struck, and a wave of that nullifying energy pulsed up his arm. He felt his chakra drain, his arm go numb. The hoplite didn't even stumble. It just continued its relentless march. Naruto's eyes widened. It's eating the chakra. He backed off, shaking his arm. This was bad. It's ignoring him. Kiba shouted. Rias, we have to do something. Do what? Kiba, Rias shrieked, her voice cracking with the unfamiliar terror of being powerless. We're human, but they were still devils. Still stronger than normal. Kiba, in a fit of desperate bravery, ran at the machine. He didn't have magic, so he launched a flying kick. The hoplite didn't even stop. It backhanded him, not with malice, just with presence. Kiba was flung 100 feet, crashing into the bleachers in a spray of splintered wood and metal. Kiba, Rias screamed. Kaneko lunged next, leaping onto its back, trying to use her physical strength to snap its neck. The machine just stopped. The blue light on its skin flared. Kaneko let out a choked gasp as the null field concentrated on her. Her strength evaporated. She fell off its back, unconscious, her body drained. This is a purifier, Akeno whispered, her face pale for the first time. It's designed to cleanse us. The hoplite was walking again. It was almost off the field. Naruto stood in its path. He couldn't hit it. He couldn't. Rasengan. He formed the sphere of blue, rotating chakra and slammed it, full force, into the machine's back. The explosion was massive. It ripped up a crater in the field. Smoke and debris filled the air. Rias coughed, waving the dust away. Did he get it? The hum was still there. The smoke cleared. The hoplite stood in the crater, untouched. The Rasengan's rotational energy, it was spinning in the blue optic, being absorbed. The hoplite's head turned, a full 180 degrees, to face him. The hum changed. It got higher. Anomaly. Identified. Heresy. Absolute. Adaptation. Complete. Threat level. Omega. RE prioritize. Purge anomaly. The machine had found its real target. It raised its hand, and a beam of pure, cobalt blue nothing shot out. Naruto dodged. It was pure instinct. The beam hit the school building behind him. It didn't explode. It didn't burn. A 20-foot wide circle of the building just ceased to exist. It was unmade. Naruto landed, his heart pounding. That would have killed him. No healing. No defense. Just gone. This is bad, he muttered. Fool. Didrake's roar in his head was a mix of panic and fury. I told you, that thing eats asterisk energy. It eats your asterisk kind of energy. Your attacks are feeding asterisk it. It's adapting. You got a better idea. Naruto snarled, dodging another beam that erased the ground where he'd been. Yes, stop using your tricks. Your life asterisk energy is what it wants. That's the heresy it's hunting. Stop giving it life. What do I give it instead? Give it power. Give it me. Forget your balance. Forget your sage tricks. You can't heal it to death. You have to annihilate asterisk it. Unleash your rage. Unleash my asterisk rage. Do it, now. Naruto skidded to a halt. He stood, breathing heavily, facing the machine. Rias and Akeno were dragging Kaneko and Kiba's broken bodies to safety. The hoplite stopped. It was charging. The blue optic was glowing, bright as a sun. This was the final shot. The one that would erase him. Didrake was right. His sage mode was about balance. His chakra was life. This was the antithesis. He couldn't overwhelm it with what it was built to eat. He had to give it something new. He had to break his own rules. Okay. Naruto whispered. Okay, Didrake, let's try it your way. He closed his eyes. The hoplite unleashed its final beam, a column of pure deletion as wide as a house. And in that instant, Naruto detonated. The first layer was gold. The familiar, roaring, sun-like chakra cloak of his Jinchuriki power. It erupted, a pillar of pure, unadulterated life. The beam hit it, and sizzled. It was eating it, but it was too much. The second layer was nature. The orange markings around his eyes glowed, and a wave of pure, balanced, natural energy flooded the golden cloak, making it denser, stronger. The beam slowed, pushing against a wall of life and world. But it was still pushing. Not enough. Naruto grunted. Then add me. Add the fire. Add the domination. Don't just block asterisk it. Overwhelm asterisk it. Now, partner. That word, partner. RAAAGH. DDRAIG. Naruto roared. The crimson gauntlet on his arm flared to life. Welsh dragon. Balance breaker. But it was not the armor. It was not Rias's armor. It was not Valley's. It was fusion. The golden KCM cloak. The natural energy of Sage mode. And the crimson, dominating power of the boosted gear. The three powers, which should have rejected each other, were forced together by Naruto's sheer, unshakable will. The Sage mode acted as the catalyst. The KCM cloak was the vessel. And Didrake's power was the fuel. They harmonized. Rias, Akeno, ND the now stirring Kiba and Kaneko stared in absolute, paralyzing awe. The golden pillar of chakra changed. It turned a deep, molten, golden red. It swirled, it solidified. It grew. In a second, a 30-foot tall avatar of pure, burning energy stood on the field. It had Naruto's face, but its features were sharper, more regal. It had the familiar, flowing cloak of his Kurama avatar, but it was scaled, like a dragon's hide. And from its back, two vast, impossible, European-style dragon wings made of pure, crimson energy erupted, so vast they blotted out the sun. The dragon sage avatar, the Hoplite's deletion beam shattered against the new form. It splashed harmlessly against the golden-red chakra-like water on steel. The machine's hum became a high-pitched whine of pure, digital panic. Energy. Critical. Unclassifiable. Threat. Omega Plus. Code. Heresy. Code. Harmony. Reader. The Dragon Sage Avatar's voice was a layered, divine echo. Naruto's. D-Drags. And something new. Be gone. The Avatar moved. It was a golden-red blur. It didn't punch. It just raised its hand. It grabbed the hoplite. The machine's blue, nullifying light flared, washing over the Avatar's hand, trying to drain it. It couldn't. It was like trying to drain a star with a teaspoon. The anti-magic energy hissed and died against the sheer, conceptual density of this new, harmonized power. The Avatar clenched its fist. There was no explosion, no sound. The hoplite was crushed. The white porcelain, the golden light, the blue optic, it was compressed into a white-hot, singular point of light. And then, the Dragon Sage Avatar's energy unmade it. It was just gone. The field was silent. The Avatar stood tall for one more second, a god of a new, impossible pantheon. Then, it dissolved in a shower of golden-red sparks, leaving Naruto Uzumaki standing in the center of a smoking, glassy crater. He was breathing hard, but he was standing. The boosted gear on his arm was glowing with a deep, satisfied, crimson light. Opening square bracket ... HMPH. Not bad, partner. Closing square bracket. Kiba was staring. Kaneko was staring. Rias looked at this man, this calamity, not with hatred, but with a deep, bottomless, soul-shaking dread. He wasn't a monster. He wasn't a rival. He was impossible. But Akeno was glowing. She walked past Rias. She walked over the ruined field, her heels sinking into the slag, and didn't care. She walked right up to Naruto. Her eyes glazed, a breathless, unstable, ecstatic smile on her face. Era, she panted, her voice trembling. That was divine. Naruto just looked at her, exhausted. Are you okay? It was a simple, human question, and it broke her. The lust, the ecstasy, it shattered, replaced by something raw, something broken. Her smile crumpled. Okay. A wild, broken laugh escaped her. No, I'm a monster, Naruto-san. Just like you. Before he could react, she showed him. Two vast, black, leathery wings erupted from her back, showering them in stray black feathers. You think that was monstrous? She asked, her voice cracking. I'm Akeno Himehime, daughter of Barakil, a leader of the fallen angels. And Shuri Himehime, a human priestess. I'm a half-breed, a filthy abomination. She was shaking, her greatest, darkest secret laid bare. I loved what you just did, she confessed, the words tearing out of her. I loved the power, the dominance, the control. She was crying now. I love pain. I love giving it. I'm a sadist, Naruto-san. That's who I am. I'm just as much of a monster as that thing you just destroyed. She waited. For the disgust. For the judgment. For him to call her a freak. Naruto was silent for a long moment. He was tired. He looked at her wings. He looked at her tear-streaked face. Your wings are black, he said, bluntly. Yes, she whispered, bracing. My first partner was a giant, apocalyptic fox monster. He was made of pure, distilled hatred. He killed my parents. He destroyed my village. Your wings, they're just wings. To her profound, heart-stopping shock, he reached out and touched one. He ran his calloused fingers over the black feathers. He didn't flinch. It's just power, Akeno. But my nature, she sobbed. My desires. I'm twisted. So, he shrugged, letting his hand drop. You like to cause pain. You like to control. Your blood is fallen. Your other blood is human. You've got lightning. So, it's just a tool. He finally met her eyes. His were not full of judgment. They were just clear and tired. Your blood doesn't define you. Your actions do. Right now, you're standing here, crying. You're not hurting anyone. You dragged your friends to safety. That's what matters. He turned, walking toward the road. He had to get back to Asia. Stop whining about your blood. He called back over his shoulder. If you hate it so much, get stronger. Learn to control it. Make it yours. Then it doesn't matter what you are. Akeno was left standing alone in the crater. Her black wings spread wide, tears streaming down her face. He hadn't judged her. He hadn't fetishized her. He had challenged her. He had given her a path. And in that moment, her loyalty, her very being, which had been chained to Rias by duty, was shattered. And it began to reforge itself, in the image of the man walking away. In a cold, dark, non-space, the architect observed the data stream. The hoplite was gone. The feed was just static. Sensor Prime, the architect's perfect chime, was flat. It was the closest the being had ever come to shock. Report. Status of Hoplite Prime. A smaller, pulsing light of gold appeared. Architect. The unit has been purged. Annihilated. The anomaly's power level. It is incalculable. It fused the flaw. It fused domination with its own life energy. It created a new, stable state. Harmony heresy. The architect was silent. The entire room seemed to dim. It builds. It harmonizes. It is an infection. A virus in the system. We cannot fight its will with mere logic. The architect's gaze turned. In the dark, a new figure was floating. The comatose, broken, empty body of Issei Hyodo. He was muttering, his soul a fractured, empty thing. Mine, all mine. He took, he stole. Rias, Akeno, my harem, stole. Architect. The sensor prime pulsed. What is that? It is the soul fracture of the previous host, the architect chimed. The core concepts are envy, lust, spite, loss. It is a perfect void of desire. The architect's light pulsed, bright and sudden, a void. Yes, we cannot fight the heretic's will. But a void can consume a will. The anomaly harmonizes. This vessel will devour. It is the perfect antithesis. The architect's chiming voice was, for the first time, pleased. Prepare the void heart. We have found our new flaw. He will be the dragon of envy. A shard of pure, jagged, anti-light. A piece of frozen nothing, descended from the non-space. It touched Issei's chest, and sank in. And Issei, for the first time in days, screamed. Chapter 3 End. Chapter 4. The Phoenix and the Fox. The fragile piece of the last 10 days had been a lie. It was a cold, brittle thing, and it shattered the moment the smell of ash and brimstone filled the Occult Research Club building. The mood, for once, had been almost light. Kiba and Kaneko, fully recovered from their draining encounter with the hoplite, were sparring on the back lawn, their movements faster and more precise. Naruto, it turned out, was a brutal and terrifyingly effective teacher. He wasn't just training Akeno. He'd cornered Kiba and, in a single, 30-minute session, had revolutionized the boy's entire understanding of Kenjutsu. Teaching him how to flow his meager demonic energy like chakra, turning his created blades from brittle glass into tempered steel. He'd sat with Kaneko for hours, not in combat, but in quiet meditation, teaching her how to feel the natural energy around her. He was teaching her senjutsu. Her own. It was a slow, arduous process, but the raw, unrefined power she held back in fear was now, for the first time, coming under her control. Only Rias was excluded. He had left her utterly, pointedly alone. She sat at her desk, nursing a cup of tea, watching her peerage, her family, gravitate toward this intruder. Akeno, in particular, was a constant, smiling knife in her side. You're humming, Akeno, Rias said, her voice clipped. Akeno Himahima paused, her hands in the middle of preparing another pot of tea. Her smile was different, Rias had decided. It was no longer a beautiful, polite mask. It was a genuine, private smile. It was the smile of a woman with a secret. Was I? Akeno's eyes crinkled. My apologies, President. I was just thinking. Naruto-san showed me how to weave my light and lightning together. He called it a Kirin. It's beautiful, and so very destructive. You've been spending a lot of time with him, Rias said, her fingers tightening on her cup. He's an excellent teacher, Akino replied, her voice smooth. He doesn't judge, he just corrects. He says my blood, my fallen nature, isn't a sin. It's just a tool I'm using badly. He's not a devil, Akino. He doesn't understand our ways, our politics. He understands power, Akino said, her smile fading, her voice dropping. And he understands control, which, it seems, is more than we can say for. She was cut off. A flash of gold and orange. The A.I.R. ripped open in the center of the room. It was not a Grimoire circle. This one was arrogant, a swirling vortex of fire and ash that smelled of an ancient, prideful magic. From it stepped a woman. She was beautiful, in a severe, warlike way, dressed in a crimson and gold maid's outfit that looked more like armor. Her hair was the color of a summer sky, and her eyes were cold. Ubeluna, the queen of Riser Phoenix. She didn't bow, she didn't ask, she announced, Lady Rias Grimoire, Lord Riser has arrived in Kuo. He has come for his bride. The blood drained from Rias's face. He's here, now, my brother, Lord Sirzex has been delayed by urgent matters in the underworld, Ubeluna said, her voice laced with smug satisfaction. Lord Phoenix, however, grows impatient. He expects his fiancée to present herself to him. Immediately. Present myself. Where? Ubeluna's smile was a thin, cruel slash. At the Hyodo residence. He has requisitioned it. A fitting place to plan his wedding, wouldn't you agree? He will see you now. The circle flared, and she was gone. The teacup in Rias's hand cracked. The Hyodo residence. Kiba's voice was a shocked whisper, his Ning forgotten as he and Kaneko re-entered the room. He's in Issei's house, Kaneko stated, her voice flat, but her fists were white. It was an insult, a deliberate, calculated, vicious insult. To take the home of her broken, discarded servant and use it as his staging ground. It was a power move, a demonstration that he, and his family, owned everything of hers. Including her failures. Rias, Akino's voice was low, all trace of her previous humor gone. This is, I know what it is, Rias said, standing. Her aura flared, a crimson-black wave of pure, unadulterated fury. It's a challenge. Very well. She slammed her hand down. The Grimoire circle lit the floor. He wants to see his fiancée. He'll see the king of the Grimoire. The small, suburban Hyodo home had been violated. Phoenix banners, all gold and crimson, hung from the eaves. Two of Riser's peerage, his rooks, stood guard at the front door like stone-faced bouncers. They didn't even acknowledge Rias, just sneered and opened the door. The inside was unrecognizable. The modest furniture was gone, replaced with plush, garish divans and silk cushions. Riser's all-female peerage, his harem, lounged everywhere, drinking wine, laughing. Their demonic power a thick, perfumed smog in the small home. And in the center of the living room, on a high-backed chair that looked like a throne, sat Riser Phoenix. He was handsome, in a way. Blonde hair, blue eyes, a cocky, arrogant smirk that he probably thought was charming. He wore an open-chested crimson coat, showing off his sculpted physique. He was the picture of an arrogant, spoiled, powerful young lord. When he saw Rias, his smirk widened. He shot to his feet. Rias, my darling, he boomed, his voice filling the room. He strode over and, without preamble, wrapped his arms around her. His hands immediately dropping to her waist, one hand going even lower. You're even more beautiful than I remembered. The fires of my passion burn for you. Get your hands off me. Rias's voice was ice. She didn't just slap his hands away. A burst of her destructive energy blasted them off, leaving his skin smoking. Riser recoiled, his smirk faltering into a pout. Feisty. Riser likes feisty. He healed the burns in an instant, his skin knitting with a faint, orange glow. But you must learn your place, my dear. You are to be my wife. I am no one's wife. Riser, Rias spat, her peerage fanning out behind her. Akino's eyes were electric. Kiba's hand was on his sword. This is my territory. You have come here, unannounced, and defiled the home of your broken pawn. Riser laughed, A loud, braying sound. His entire peerage giggled. Oh, please, Rias. Don't be so dramatic. I heard your little pervert had his toy taken away. Good. Saves me the trouble of burning him to a crisp. He was unworthy of breathing the same air as you. You will not speak of my peerage that way. Or what? Riser scoffed, stepping closer, his arrogance a physical force. You'll fight me, you, with, what is this? Your broken swordsman, your traumatized cat, and your half-breed queen. He leered at Akeno. Though, you, my dear Akeno, you can join my harem any time. That's enough, Rias said. She was cornered. She knew it. He was more powerful. His peerage was larger. His family was backing him. And he was immortal. But the Grimoire pride, the very thing Naruto had thrown in her face. It would not let her kneel. She saw only one way out. One impossible, desperate, doomed path. A rating game, Riser. The room went silent. Riser's smirk vanished, replaced by genuine surprise. A rating game. He repeated. You heard me, Rias said, her voice shaking, but she held his gaze. A rating game. My peerage against yours. If, by some miracle, I win, the engagement is called off. Permanently. Riser stared at her, and then, he roared with laughter. It was a deep, condescending, joyful sound. A rating game. You, Rias, with your 4 pieces. Against my full 15, including my queen, my 2 rooks, my 2 bishops. Do you accept or not? Rias cut him off. Of course I accept, he bellowed, delighted. Oh, this is perfect. A little entertainment. Before the wedding night, a chance for me to show you, and the entire underworld, the difference in our power. Oh, Rias, you spoil me. He snapped his fingers. 10 days. We'll give you 10 days. My little sister, Ravel, will come to officiate the arrangements. 10 days to prepare. He leaned in, his voice a smug, hot whisper in her ear. It won't matter, my love. Riser always wins. No, absolutely not. Naruto didn't even look up. He was on the penthouse balcony, his eyes closed, in a perfect meditative stance. The setting sun cast his sage-marked face in a deep, orange glow. Rias stood in the open doorway, her fists clenched. She had come alone. She had swallowed every last scrap of her pride. It had taken her an hour to walk from the club to his apartment. An hour of self-loathing, of fear, of cold, hard, desperate calculation. You don't even know what I'm going to ask, she said, her voice trembling. You're going to ask me to fight for you, he said, his voice flat. You're in a rating game against the chicken man. You know you can't win. Your peerage is weak, you've lost your main weapon, and you're scared. So, you're here to beg me to be your new, bigger weapon. He opened his eyes. The golden orange, cross-slit pupils pinned her to the spot. Am I wrong? Rias flinched. He had just gutted her. He'd laid her bare with a few, simple, correct words. He's forcing me to marry him, she whispered, her pride shattering. If I lose, I'm his property. Please, Naruto-san, I'm begging you. It was the hardest, most humiliating word she had ever spoken. I will give you anything, she pressed, desperation making her reckless. A place in my peerage. You can be my queen. My strongest piece. You can have me, anything you want. Just win this for me. Naruto was silent for a long, cold moment. Then he laughed. It wasn't a kind laugh. It was a short, sharp, cold bark of derision. You're queen, he said, standing up. He was a foot taller than her, and in this light, he looked like a statue of a forgotten, angry god. I'm not your servant, Rias. I'm not your piece. He stalked toward her, forcing her to backpedal into the living room. You are Rias Grimoire, he growled, his voice a low, dangerous thing. Heir to the Grimoire clan. King. You've been telling everyone who would listen. This is your political problem. This is your family's mess. This is your fight. But, you could win. You saw him. You could beat him, she pleaded. I could, he agreed, his voice flat. I could walk over there, and I could end him. In, probably 5 seconds. And then what? He jabbed a finger at her. Then you've learned nothing. Your peerage has learned nothing. You'll just be the girl who's hiding behind the monster in the penthouse. You'll go right back to being a weak, arrogant king who relies on her family name and her new, terrifying attack dog. That's not. I wouldn't. Yes, you would, he said, his voice absolute. You haven't earned my help. You haven't earned anything. You're a king, but you've never led. You're a master, but you've never taught. You're powerful, but you've never fought. He stopped, looming over her. You want to win. Fine. Win. Win your way. With your pieces. With Kiba. With Kaneko. With Akeno. Fight. Lead them. And if you lose, lose. Lose with your pride. Lose standing up. He turned his back on her. A final, absolute dismissal. Go home, Rias Gramori. And for the first time in your life, figure out how to be a king. Rias was left standing in his living room, completely and utterly shattered. She didn't cry. She didn't scream. She just broke. She teleported out, her crimson light a weak, sputtering flicker. Naruto closed his eyes. That was cruel, partner, Didrake's voice rumbled in his mind. She was truly broken. You could have saved her. Saving her wouldn't have helped her, Naruto thought back. His mental voice like stone. She needs to learn to stand. Or she'll spend her whole life crawling. The 10 days were a blur of muted, desperate, hopeless activity. Rias, to her credit, tried. She trained. She drilled her peerage. She pushed Kiba and Kaneko to integrate what Naruto had taught them. She and Akeno worked on combination attacks. But the heir was dead. They all knew. They were 4. Riser was 15. And Riser was immortal. Naruto and Asia were a constant, silent presence. They'd see them at school. Asia would smile and wave, a bright, innocent light. Naruto would just look at Rias, his gaze not judging, just watching. Waiting. It was, she thought, the worst torture she could have imagined. The day of the rating game arrived. The world dissolved, replaced by a perfect, pocket dimension replica of Kuo Academy. Searsex was there, in a private viewing box, his face serene. Graphia was at his side. Lord and Lady Phoenix were there, too, smiling, sipping wine. The Gramori peerage, Rias, Akeno, Kiba, Kaneko, stood on one side of the field. Riser's entire peerage teleported onto the other. 15 of them. A sea of smug, beautiful, powerful faces. Well, Rias, my love. Riser's voice boomed over the field. Your 10 days are up. Are you ready to entertain me? Rias drew a breath. She looked at Kiba's determined face. At Kaneko's stoic resolve. At Akeno's tight, electric smile. They were her family, and she was their king. Gramori peerage, she said, her voice clear. We will not win this. But we will not make it easy. We will fight. For our pride. Fight. It was a slaughter. It wasn't a game. It was a brutal, systematic dismantling. Kiba, faster and stronger than ever, was a whirlwind. He actually managed to take out 3 of Riser's pawns, his new chakra-infused blades a shocking surprise. But he was overwhelmed by 2 of Riser's knights. He was cut down, his leg shattered. Lord Kiba retired. Kaneko was a white-haired bullet. She'd embraced her senjutsu, and she shattered one of Riser's rooks in a single, devastating blow. But she was cornered by 2 bishops, who held her in place with binding magic as Yubeluna. Riser's queen blasted her with an explosion that leveled the gym. Lady Kaneko retired. It was just Rias and Akeno. Back to back, surrounded by Riser and his 10 remaining pieces. Era, this is not ideal, President, Akeno panted, her robes torn, blood trickling from her temple. No, it's not, Rias agreed, breathing heavily, her demonic power almost exhausted. Well, shall we give them the Kirin? Akeno whispered, a wild, beautiful, broken smile on her face. Rias looked at her, and she smiled back. Let's. Akeno flew into the air, gathering every last scrap of her power. But she didn't just summon lightning. She willed her fallen angel light into it. A black gold storm of pure, unadulterated holy lightning formed. Rias, below her, aimed all of her remaining power of destruction. Take this, you arrogant bastard. Rias shrieked. A pillar of black-red annihilation shot up. A storm of black-gold holy lightning shot down. They combined. The resulting vortex of black, gold, and red energy was something the underworld had never seen. It was beautiful. It was terrifying. It washed over Riser's entire peerage. When the light faded, all 10 of them were gone. Retired. Rias and Akeno stood in a smoking crater, victorious. Intel. My, that was impressive. Riser Phoenix stepped out of the smoke. His clothes were gone. His skin was charred, and he was healing. The burns, the wounds, they flowed backwards. In 3 seconds, he was pristine. Untouched. That actually hurt, Rias. He said, his smile gone, replaced by a cold, predatory fury. My entire peerage, you're going to pay for that. He vanished, and appeared in front of Akeno. Before she could even react, he drove his fist, wreathed in Phoenix fire, straight through her stomach. Akeno. Rias screamed. Akeno looked down, shocked. She coughed up blood. Lady Akeno. Retired. Her unconscious body vanished. It was just Rias. She was alone. She was empty. She had nothing left. Riser, immortal, untouched, and furious, walked toward her. It's over, my dear, he sneered. You fought, cutely. But now, it's time for your reward. He reached for her. Rias Ramori looked at the man who was about to own her. She looked at her empty field. She looked up at her brother, who just watched, his face impassive. She had lost, but she would lose, as a king. She choked, a single, hot tear of pure, bitter humiliation rolling down her cheek. Resign. The world snapped. The illusion shattered. They were back in the grand, sterile observation hall. Rias was on her knees. In the center of the floor, exactly where she'd stood in the illusion. Her peerage, Hiba, Kaneko, Akeno, were teleported in, unconscious, battered, and broken, lying in a heap on the floor. Riser stood opposite her, his arms crossed, a smug, triumphant smirk back on his face. Lord and Lady Phoenix were applauding. A fine effort, Rias. Riser boomed. A wonderful show. But, as I said, Riser always wins. Now, my wife, come. Kiss your husband. He strode over to her. He grabbed her arm, hauling her roughly to her feet. No. She whispered, her spirit broken. Let go of me. This wasn't a request, Rias, he sneered, pulling her face close to his. You lost. You are my property now. He puckered his lips. She's not property. The voice was not loud. It was calm. It was bored, and it cut through the entire hall like a blade of ice. Every single head snapped to the doorway. Naruto Uzumaki was standing there, leaning against the doorjamb. He was in his school uniform. A backpack slung over one shoulder. Asia Argento was peeking out from behind him, her eyes wide with terror. Who in the 9 hells are you? Lord Phoenix bellowed from the stands. Security. Remove this human. Riser, enraged, let go of Rias. You dare interrupt Riser-sama's moment of triumph. You will burn for this. Naruto ignored them all. He walked past Riser, past the unconscious peerage, and stopped in front of Rias. She was staring at him, her eyes wide, red-rimmed, full of a devastating mix of shame, confusion, and a tiny, impossible, agonizing spark of hope. You did well, Naruto said, his voice quiet. Rias's breath hitched. I lost. I resigned. You fought, he corrected, his gaze not leaving hers. You stood with your peerage. You lost as a team. You lost on your feet. That's better than you were 10 days ago. What is happening? Riser shrieked. The sheer, profound disrespect, it was making him shake. You dare ignore me. I am Riser Phenex. Heir to the great house of Phenex. You will kneel. Riser's power erupted, a column of fire and wind. His wings of flame unfurled. I am immortal. I will burn you to ash. He charged. Searsex, in the booth, leaned forward, his chin in his hand, a tiny, interested smile playing on his lips. Riser threw a haymaker, a punch wreathed in immortal fire, aimed at the back of Naruto's head. Naruto didn't turn. He just leaned. His head moved 2 inches to the left. The fist, and the fire, passed harmlessly by. You beat a team of children, Naruto said, his voice still bored, his gaze still on Rias. Congratulations. You mock me. Riser was a blur, a whirlwind of fists, kicks, and fire. He was a high-class devil, a master of combat. And Naruto just moved. He didn't block. He didn't dodge. He just wasn't there. Riser threw a punch. Naruto flowed around it. Riser launched a kick. Naruto swayed back, the kick missing by a hair. Riser blasted him with a fireball. Naruto swatted it, like it was a fly. His hand, glowing with a faint, blue chakra, dispersed the attack into nothing. It was not a fight. It was a humiliation. The entire hall was silent. Riser was panting, his attacks getting wilder, more desperate. Naruto hadn't even moved his feet. Why won't you burn? Riser shrieked, launching one final, desperate lunge. My turn. Naruto moved. He ducked under Riser's punch. His own hand came up. It wasn't a fist. It was a palm heel. His eyes, they had the orange markings. He placed his palm gently on Riser's solar plexus. Senjutsu. It wasn't a punch. It was an injection. A single, focused, overwhelming dose of pure, undiluted, natural energy. Riser froze. He looked down. There was no hole, no blood. He felt full. He coughed. A spray of blood and smoke erupted from his mouth. What? He rasped. What did you? He tried to heal. The phoenix fire sputtered. His wounds, they weren't closing. Your regeneration runs on your own power. Naruto explained, his voice cold, his hand still on Riser's chest. My power, Senjutsu, is natural energy. The life of the world. I just pumped your entire system full of so much of it. It's shorting out your own. You're overloaded. Riser's eyes, for the first time, went wide with genuine, mortal, terror. He couldn't heal. You want to heal? Naruto asked, his voice flat. Fine. He pushed. A tiny bit more. Boost. A single, quiet whisper from the gauntlet, which wasn't even visible on his arm. The Senjutsu was boosted. Riser's body convulsed. His fire wings exploded into a shower of harmless embers. His eyes rolled back. He collapsed to the floor, smoking, broken, and unconscious. One hit. Naruto stood over the body. The silence in the room was absolute. So total it was deafening. Lord and Lady Phoenix were pale, their wine glasses shattered in their hands. Graphia's eyes were wider than Sears's had ever seen them. And Sears's was smiling. A genuine, broad, terrified, impressed smile. Naruto turned, not to the Saiyans, not to the nobles, but to Rias. He walked over to her. He held out his hand. She stared at it, her body trembling, her mind reeling. Get up, Rias Grimori. Her hand, shaking, found his. He pulled her to her feet. He turned to the stunned audience. The rating game is over, he announced, his voice filling the hall. She lost. The contract is valid. Rias's heart stopped. But, Naruto continued, his voice like iron. The engagement is broken. Preposterous. Lord Phoenix finally roared, finding his voice. He stood up, his own power flaring. The contract is law. She is ours. Your son is unworthy, Naruto said, his voice silencing the man. He's weak. He's arrogant. And he's a coward. He gestured to the unconscious Riser. He attacks women and mocks children. He has no honor. He then stepped, just slightly, so he was standing in front of Rias. It was a simple, subtle, absolute gesture of protection. She is Rias Grimori, head of the Grimori clan. And as of this moment, she, and her entire peerage, are under my protection. He looked at Lord Phoenix, his sage-mode eyes cold as death. You want her. You have to go through me. Your family has to go through me. Send your son. Send your armies. I don't care. I'll break them all. It was not a threat. It was a vow. A declaratio. N of war against a great house of the underworld. Lord Phoenix was purple. He was trembling with rage. But he was not stupid. He looked at the boy. He looked at the Mal Lucifer, who was openly enjoying the show. He knew. He was beaten. This is not over, boy, he snarled. It is, Naruto said. It's already over. Now get out of my sight. Lord Phoenix snapped his fingers. His remaining peerage, who had just appeared, scrambled to collect Riser's body. They vanished in a pillar of angry, humiliated fire. The hall was quiet again. Rias was staring at Naruto's back. He had let her lose. He had let her be humiliated. And then, he had saved her. Not her game. Not her pride. Her. She didn't know what to feel. She was free. She was humiliated. She was safe. Naruto turned to her. Your peerage is hurt, he said. His voice gentle now. Go. Be their king. Heal them. He started to walk away, gesturing for Asia to follow. Naruto. Wait. Rias called, her voice small, broken. He stopped at the door. You refused to fight for me. I did, he said. But, you did fight for me. He looked back over his shoulder. His sage mode eyes, no longer cold, met hers. No, Rias, I didn't win your game. I'm not one of your pieces. He gave her a small, almost invisible, smile. I just took out the trash. He and Asia left, the door closing with a quiet click, leaving Rias Grimori alone in the center of the hall. Her entire world, her entire future, completely and irrevocably rewritten. Chapter 4 End. Chapter 5. Scars, Swords, and Shadows. The Occult Research Club was a different place. The thick, oppressive cloud of Riser's arrogance had been replaced by a quiet, buzzing, and deeply uncomfortable tension. Rias Grimori, for the first time in her life, was not the center of gravity in her own room. She sat at her king's desk, ostensibly doing paperwork, but her eyes kept flicking to the man sitting on her sofa, drinking her tea, which her queen had just prepared for him. Naruto Uzumaki had become a fixture. He wasn't a member. He wasn't a servant. He was, as Searsex had so clinically put it, an observer. But he was not passive. He was a mountain that had decided to move into her living room. And his presence was warping everything. Asia sat beside him, nervously reading a high school textbook, a picture of perfect, protected innocence. Akeno moved about the room with a light, airy grace Rias hadn't seen in years. The dark, sadomasochistic cloud that had always hung over her was gone. Replaced by a bright, electric, and utterly focused energy. She was humming again. Kiba and Kaneko were the most changed. They were not at ease. They were coiled springs. Kiba-kun, Rias said, her voice a little too sharp. You've been pacing for 10 minutes. You're going to wear a groove in the floor. What is it? Kiba Yudo stopped. He looked at his king, his gaze complicated. He was grateful to her, loyal to her. But he had seen her defeated. And then he had seen that. It's here, Kiba said. His voice a low thrum. In Kuo. I can feel it. Feel what? Akeno asked, pausing with the teapot. A fragment, Kiba said, his hand gripping the hilt of a demonic sword at his waist. An Excalibur fragment. The church. They're moving them. They're here, in my territory. Naruto, who had been silent, finally spoke. So, the single word cut through Kiba's agitation. So, he repeated, turning on Naruto. That thing, is the symbol of my friend's suffering. The Holy Sword Project. It's the reason It's the reason you're alive, Naruto interrupted, his voice flat. He took a sip of tea. It's the reason you're a devil. It's the reason you're obsessed. I am not obsessed, Kiba snapped, his friendly, princely demeanor vanishing, replaced by a cold, sharp anger. I am on a quest. I will find every last fragment of Excalibur, and I will destroy them. I will have vengeance for my fallen comrades. The room was silent. Rias watched, her hands clenched, wanting to defend her knight, but she was afraid to. Naruto just looked at him, his sage mode eyes unimpressed. He slowly set his teacup down. Vengeance. He said the word like it tasted bad. That's your grand plan. You'll destroy some swords. And then what? Will your friends come back? Will the church stop making new ones? Will it make you stronger? Or will you just be an empty, angry little boy who's good at breaking things? You don't know anything about me. Kiba roared. The air crackled, and in a flash of demonic energy, he was in front of Naruto, his sword drawn and aimed at the blonde's throat. Sword birth. Kiba, stop, Rias shouted, jumping to her feet. Naruto didn't even flinch. His gaze didn't leave Kiba's. I know exactly who you are. You're a child, hiding behind a big word. You're not angry at a sword, Kiba. You're angry because you were weak. You couldn't save them. He raised his prosthetic hand. And you still are. I'll show you. Kiba lunged, thrusting the blade. Clang. The sound was dull. Final. Kiba stared. Rias gasped. Akino's smile widened. Naruto had caught the blade. Not with his palm. With 2 fingers. This is your resolve? Naruto asked, his voice a low growl. He squeezed. A spiderweb of cracks erupted from his fingertips. The demonic blade, a construct of Kiba's will and power, shattered. It dissolved into 1,000 glittering, magic-less shards. Kiba stumbled back, staring at the empty hilt in his hand, his face a mask of pure, unadulterated shock. See, Naruto said, standing up. He brushed the dust from his fingers. Weak. Your swords are brittle because your will is brittle. It's all just rage. And rage breaks. It's unfocused. Useless. He walked, not to Kiba, but to the center of the room. You were a victim of the Holy Sword Project. Fine. So what? I was the victim of a tailed beast attack. I was an outcast. An orphan. Everyone I knew hated me. My master was murdered. My best friend betrayed me. My body was broken. He held up his bandaged arm, the crimson gauntlet pulsing underneath, then his prosthetic one. Cry me a river, Kiba. Your sob story isn't special. It's just life. Kiba was trembling, not with rage anymore, with shame. You want to honor your friends, Naruto said, turning to face him. Then live for them. Get strong enough, truly strong, so that what happened to them never ever happens to anyone else. You want to destroy a sword. Fine, but you're too weak to do it. Your anger is a liability to your king. It makes you predictable. It makes you stupid. He stopped, his challenge hanging in the air. I can teach you. I can take that raw, useless anger and forge it into a purpose. I can teach you how to make a blade that won't break. A blade that I can't break. He pointed to the door. Or, you can keep chasing ghosts. And you can get yourself, and the rest of them, killed. Your choice. Kiba looked at the shattered fragments of his sword. He looked at Rias, who was staring at Naruto with a look of awe. He looked at his own shaking hands. He had defined his entire life by this quest for vengeance. And this stranger, had dismantled it in 30 seconds. He didn't say a word. He just turned and walked out of the clubroom, his shoulders slumped. Naruto-san, Rias started. That was too cruel. He needed to hear it, Naruto said, his voice flat. He looked down at the last member of the peerage, who had been sitting in the corner, silent, eating a chocolate bar as if nothing had happened. You too, cat. Kaneko Tuju froze. Her chewing stopped. You're holding back, Naruto said, walking over to her. Don't know what you're talking about, she replied, her voice the same, familiar, deadpan monotone. But her eyes were afraid. Yes, you do. Naruto sat on the floor, cross-legged, in front of her. He was suddenly at her eye level. I've been teaching you how to feel the natural energy. How to gather senjutsu. But you're fighting it. You're poisoning it. Every time you get close to balancing it, you panic. You let your own energy flood it. He leaned in, and his voice dropped. It's not senjutsu, is it? Not like mine. It's Yujutsu. The power of a Nekomata. You're afraid of it. Kaneko stopped. Her hands, holding the chocolate, were white-knuckled. This was the one thing. The one, dark, buried secret Rias had sworn to protect. How? She whispered. Naruto's eyes changed. The orange markings of sage mode appeared, his pupils the cross slits of a toad. Because I am nature, he said, his voice layered. I am balance. And you are terrified of what you are. You're afraid you'll lose control. That you'll become a monster. He leaned in, his voice now a whisper only she could hear. Like she did. The girl's facade shattered. The deadpan mask crumbled. Her eyes went wide, and for the first time, Rias saw genuine, paralyzing terror on Kaneko's face. My sister, Kaneko whispered, her voice a tiny, childlike tremor. Kuroka. She killed her master. She's a monster. A stray. She lost it. So, Naruto asked, his voice blunt. She lost control. Does that mean you will? I have her blood. I have her power. Kaneko was crying now, silent tears rolling down her cheeks. I'm I'm afraid. If I use it, if I embrace it, I'll be just like her. No, you won't, Naruto said, his voice absolute. How do you know? Because my first partner, Naruto said, his voice dropping, was a creature made of pure, distilled hatred. He was a nine-tailed apocalyptic demon fox. He killed my parents. He destroyed my village. He spent years trying to poison my mind, to make me hate, to make me lose control. He placed a hand on his own stomach. He's not here anymore, but I tamed him. He didn't just become my power. He became my friend, because I wasn't afraid of him. And I wasn't afraid of myself. He looked her right in the eye. Your sister is just a woman who made a bad choice. Her power is just power. It's not evil. It's not good. It's just yours. And you are letting your fear of it keep you weak. He stood up, his point made. You can be afraid, and be a half measure your whole life. Or you can face it, control it, and master it. Like Kiba, the choice is yours. Kaneko was left staring at the floor, her world tilted on its axis. The moment was broken by a sudden, powerful shift in the air. A new senjutsu signature. This one was potent, wild, and tinged with a playful, chaotic malice. The air in the clubroom grew thick. My, Nya tilde. What do we have here? The voice was a seductive, dangerous purr. A woman materialized in the center of the room. She was stunning, with a river of black hair, eyes like a cat. And a body that was pure, sinful invitation, barely contained by a black, Gothic-style kimono. A pair of black cat ears twitched on her head. Two long, black tails swished lazily behind her. Kuroka, the SS class stray. Kaneko let out a small, choked sound. Sister. Kuroka ignored her. Her gaze, her entire being, was focused on Naruto. She practically vibrated with interest. Well, she purred. Walking toward him, her hips swaying. I felt a delicious, powerful new dragon, and I find him, lecturing my cute little sister. What a treat, Nya tilde. She stopped inches from Naruto, looking him up and down. You are strong, she whispered, her voice a low thrum. So much stronger than that pervert Dedrade was stuck with. Ditch these weaklings, Nya tilde. Come with me, we could have so much fun. I could show you things that would make this little half-breeds. She glanced at Akeno. Sadism, look like child's play. Akeno's smile became a thin, electric line. Rias was frozen, her power level completely eclipsed. Leave, Naruto said. Ooh, so commanding, Kuroka giggled. She then looked, for the first time, at Kaneko. Her playful look hardened into one of pure disappointment. And you, Sharon, still holding back, still playing. Devil, it's pathetic. Leave them alone. Kaneko shouted. It wasn't a roar, it was a squeak, but it was full of rage. In a burst of white blurred motion, she leapt at her sister. It wasn't a fight. Kuroka didn't even look. She backhanded Kaneko, a casual, almost lazy, flick of her wrist. But her hand was wreathed in a swirling, toxic senjutsu. Kaneko was blasted across the room, slamming into the wall with a sickening crack, and slumping to the floor, unconscious. See, Kuroka sighed, turning back to Naruto. Weak. She's always been a disappointment. Maybe now I'll just have to break her, so she'll finally listen. She never finished the sentence. Naruto moved. He wasn't a blur. He just wasn't there, and then he was. He had crossed the room. And he had caught Kuroka's wrist. The one she had used to strike Kaneko. Kuroka froze. She stared. He stopped her. No. He caught her. The air crackled. It was a war of concepts. Her chaotic, wild, poisonous Yujutsu, slammed against his perfect, balanced, unshakable senjutsu. Her power died. It didn't just stop. It neutralized. His sage mode. It calmed her energy. It disassembled her attack. It was like her chaotic magic had just hit a perfect, unmoving wall. Oh. Kuroka's playful purr was replaced by a small, breathless, shocked sound. My, you are a sage, a real one. This is perfect. She cackled and kicked, her other leg a blur aimed at his head. Naruto let go of her wrist and flowed. This was not a brawl. It was a dance. Kuroka was a whirlwind of black mist, poisoned energy, and razor-sharp claws. She was fast. She was powerful. She was an SS-class threat for a reason. And Naruto was better. He didn't just dodge. He redirected. He used her own momentum against her. He didn't block her Jujutsu. He dispersed it. He let it wash over his own Senjutsu aura and simply unmade it. He was not fighting her. He was correcting her. Kuroka was getting frantic. Her attacks were faster, more desperate. She was losing. And she knew it. Hold still, Nya tilde. She shrieked, launching her most powerful attack, a massive, swirling sphere of pure, toxic, black-purple energy. Naruto didn't even try to block it. He vanished. Kage Bunshin. An identical copy appeared behind her. Too slow, his voice whispered in her ear. Kuroka's eyes went wide. She spun around, but he was gone. The real Naruto was standing right where he'd been. His hand was on her shoulder. Enough. Kuroka froze. She was panting. Her entire body was numb. He had been behind her. He'd tapped her. She was completely at his mercy. She turned, slowly. He hadn't hit her. He hadn't hurt her. He had simply, and absolutely, proven his total superiority. She was terrified. She was ecstatic. She panted, her cheeks flushed, her pupils dilated. Oh, my, you really are something else, Dragon Sage Kun. Leave, Naruto commanded, his voice cold. But, Sharon, she panted, gesturing to her unconscious sister. I just want her to come with me. She's not going anywhere, Naruto said. She's afraid of you. She's afraid of herself. And you're not a sister. You're a bully. Kuroka flinched. So, here's the deal, Naruto said, his voice absolute. You leave. Now. You don't come back. You don't bother her. You don't bother us. But, she's my sister. Then act like it, Naruto snapped. I'm going to train her. I'm going to teach her what you couldn't. Control. Balance. I'm going to make her strong. Strong enough to master her power. Strong enough to face you. He stepped back, his point made. And when she is ready, she will find you. And on that day, she will choose her own path. Not you, not me, her. Kuroka stared at him. This was an option she had never remotely considered. He would train her. In that, perfect, sage power. She looked at her unconscious sister. She looked at this impossible man. A slow, dangerous, Nekomata smile spread across her face. This is very interesting, Nya tilde, she purred. Very well, Dragon Sage Kun. I'll let you play with my little sister. She put a finger to her lips, her eyes hot. But if you fail her, if you hurt her, I'll come back, and I'll take you both. And we will have a very long, fun time. She blew him a kiss, and dissolved into a cloud of black mist. The room was silent. Rias and Akino were staring. Naruto had just negotiated with, and effortlessly defeated, an SS-class stray. Naruto walked over and gently picked up Kaneko. He cradled her, his touch surprisingly gentle. She's just exhausted, he said to Rias. Her sister's energy, it's a shock to her system. She'll be fine. He laid her on the sofa. He turned, and saw Kiba standing in the doorway. He had been there. He had seen all of it. Kiba Yudo looked at the man who had shattered his sword. He looked at the man who had just effortlessly dismantled an enemy that would have slaughtered their entire peerage. He walked into the room. He stopped in front of Naruto. And he bowed. It was not a bow to a friend. It was not a bow to a king. It was a deep, formal, absolute bow of a student to a master. Teach me, Kiba said, his voice clear, all trace of anger and obsession gone. Please, not for vengeance. You were right. He looked up, his eyes shining with a new, clear fire. Teach me, for purpose. Naruto looked at him. He looked at the unconscious Kaneko. He nodded, a faint, almost invisible smile on his face. Good. We start tomorrow. Both of you. And it's going to be hell. Far away, in a place of cold, geometric nothing. The architect's perfect, chiming voice echoed. The vessel is prepared. It floated in the center of a black void. A figure, no longer human. It was encased in a suit of jagged, black amethyst armor. It looked wrong. It looked like a hole in reality. It had no face, just a smooth, black visor that glowed with a sick, swirling, green light. The void heart has stabilized. It has anchored to the vessel's core concept. Envy. The figure twitched. He is no longer Issei Hyodo. He is the flaw, the void dragon. His one driving purpose is to reclaim what was stolen from him. A voice, a layered, cold, screaming whisper, echoed from the black armor, filling the void with a bottomless, aching hate. Mine. All. Mine. Chapter 5 End. Chapter 6. The Summit and the Serpent's Fang. The summons was not a request. It was a statement of profound political panic. 10 days had passed since the Phoenix incident. 10 days since Naruto had publicly, and with bone-chilling casualness, dismantled Riser Phoenix and declared the Grimoire Peerage his protectorate. The underworld was, in a word, apoplectic. The great houses, pillars of the old demonic aristocracy, were screaming for his head. The House of Phoenix was demanding war. And Sears's Lucifer, caught between a terrified, enraged nobility and an impossible new power, had been forced to act. Graphia Lucifuge appeared in the occult Recirque H Club building with a sound like a cracking glacier. The room had become Naruto's unofficial throne room, a place where he trained Kiba and Kaneko, where Akeno served him tea with a devout, unsettling focus, and where Rias sat, watching, observing, learning. Naruto Uzumaki, Graphia said, her voice stripped of all its usual, icy superiority. It was clipped, professional, stressed. She was not speaking to a stray. She was addressing a rival power. By joint decree of Lord Sears's Lucifer and Governor Azazel of the Grigori, an emergency summit of the three factions has been called. Naruto didn't open his eyes. He was in his sage mode, a state of perfect, unnerving calm. I'm not a faction. You are now, Graphia snapped, her composure slipping. You have routed an SS-class stray. You have publicly humiliated the heir to a great house. You have, by all accounts, tamed the Welsh dragon in a way no one in history has. And, she visibly swallowed, you have destroyed a hoplite. An angelic construct that heaven has adamantly denied creating. Her gaze swept the room. The balance of power is broken. The great houses believe you were a weapon created by Sears's to usurp their authority. The Grigori believes you are a secret project of heaven. And heaven is utterly, terrifyingly silent. She took a breath, regaining her iron control. This is not an invitation. It is a necessity. The leaders of the three factions will meet in 1 hour, in a neutral pocket dimension. They will meet you. They need to know what you are. Naruto finally opened his eyes. The golden-orange, cross-slit pupils cut through the room. And if I say no, then they will be forced to classify you as a common threat. A Keter-class entity. The entire alliance of the three factions, Graphia said, her voice low, will mobilize to exterminate you. Lord Sears's does not wish for this. He wishes to talk. The room was stone silent. Rias looked at Naruto, her heart pounding. This was it. The entire world was moving against him. Fine, Naruto said, standing in a single, fluid motion. I'll talk. You will come alone, Graphia stated. No, the voice wasn't Naruto's. It was Rias's. She stood up, her blue-green eyes clear and, for the first time, not blazing with arrogance or cowering in shame. They were firm. He is not a member of your factions, she said, surprising even herself with her own resolve. He has no peerage. He has no guard. He will not walk into a room with the Mao, the governor, and an archangel, alone. She turned, not to Naruto, but to her team. Akeno, Kiba, Kaneko. They stood. Kiba's hand was on his hilt, his energy calm and sharp. Kaneko's stance was solid, her senjutsu flowing in a perfect, controlled loop. Akeno's smile was electric. Rias looked at Graphia. He is an ally of the House of Grimoire. Where he goes, his entourage goes. It was a brilliant political move. She wasn't claiming him as her servant. She was aligning her house with him. Graphia's eyes widened, a flicker of pride in her gaze. She looked at Naruto. Is this acceptable? Naruto looked at Rias, at her team. They weren't his pieces. They weren't his servants. They were his. It is, Naruto said. He looked at his team. Get your gear. This isn't a social call. The summit was not held in a place of power. It was not in the gilded halls of Hev, or the crimson citadels of the underworld. It was in a void. A pocket dimension that resembled a vast, sterile, white marble platform floating in a sea of silent, gray fog. In the center, a simple, round table. 3 figures were already seated. Sears X Lucifer, in his crimson Mao robes, his expression unreadable. To his right, a man who looked like a rock star in a biker's jacket. He had 12, powerful, jet black fallen angel wings folded behind him, and a lazy, intelligent, dangerous smirk. This was Azazel, governor of the Grigori. To his left, a man who radiated a light so pure it was almost painful. He had 12, magnificent golden wings, and a face of impossible, serene, androgynous beauty. This was Michael, the archangel, proxy of a god who was no longer there. This was the balance. The 3 most powerful beings in the world. A swirling, Grimoire red portal opened. Graphia stepped out, followed by the Grimoire peerage. But they were not the Grimoire peerage. They were not in school uniforms. They were in sleek, minimalist, black combat armor. They moved as one. Kiba and Kaneko took up positions as a vanguard. Rias and Akino flanked the entrance. Then, Naruto Uzumaki walked through. He wore his simple black and orange jacket. He was a human, walking into a den of gods. He looked at the 3 leaders, and he walked to the table. He didn't bow. He didn't wait to be asked. He simply pulled out the one empty guest chair, and sat. Akino, Kiba, Kaneko, and Rias fanned out behind him. His guard. The silence was so thick it was a physical weight. It was Azazel, predictably, who broke it. He leaned forward, propping his chin on his hands, his golden, reptilian eyes sparkling with manic, scientific curiosity. So, you're the one. His voice boomed, full of laughter. The human who stole Didrag. The one who broke my hoplite. The one who spanked Riser Phoenix so hard his great-grandchildren will feel it. Ha, I love it. He spread his hands wide. Tell me everything. Where are you from? What is that energy? Is it true sagecraft? How did you force a Longinus class gear? I have so many questions. Azazel, Sears X's voice was a calm, restraining hand. We are not here to satisfy your curiosity. Child, Michael's voice was a harmony of bells, and it was filled with a deep, profound sadness. Your light, it shines so brightly. It feels, of life, of the world. You healed the girl. Ossia Argento. You performed a miracle of the Father, and yet, you are not of heaven. This is a deep complication. It's a complication, all right, Sears X said, his political mask firmly in place. He looked at Naruto, his crimson eyes hard. Naruto-san, we are at a crossroads. Your actions have destabilized a peace that has lasted for centuries. The old Satan faction is stirring. The great houses are demanding my abdication for harboring you. The church is calling you a heretic. You must choose a side. Join me. Join Azazel. Join Michael. You must be brought into the system. Or, you will be removed from it. It was an ultimatum. Naruto leaned back in his chair, his gaze flat. He looked at each of them. The devil, the fallen, the angel. No. Sears X's eyebrow rose. No, I'm not here to join your system, Naruto said, his voice flat. Your system is a joke. Your peace is just a cold war between 3 factions who are too afraid to fight. Your balance got an innocent girl killed and let a monster like Riser Phoenix run free. Your system is broken. He leaned forward, his sage mode eyes burning. I'm not here to choose a side. I'm here to tell you what's going to happen. I am here. Kuo is my territory now. Ossia Argento is my ward. And, he gestured back to his team, the Grimoire peerage is under my protection and my training. You will stay out. You will tell your armies, your angels, your nobles, to stay out. That's the deal. Or you can try and remove me. The audacity. It was so profound, so absolute, that for a second, no one spoke. Azazel burst out laughing. A genuine, delighted, maniacal laugh. Ha, he's giving us an ultimatum. He's drawing a line in the sand, against all of us. Oh, kid, you are my favorite person. This is not a joke, Azazel. Sears X snapped. Naruto-san. You cannot declare yourself a fourth great faction. It's impossible. He has not declared it, Searsex, Michael said. His voice quiet, his golden eyes fixed on Naruto. He has simply stated it. He is a power unto himself. A human faction. Exactly, Naruto said. So, you can either. He stopped. His head snapped to the left. His sage mode, it was screaming. A hum. The same, sterile, cold hum as the hoplite. But, deeper, 1,000 times stronger. A chord of perfect, emotionless logic. What is that? Akeno whispered, her smile gone, her hands crackling with holy lightning. The white marble floor was vibrating. Searsex. Azazel barked, his lazy demeanor vanishing. 12 wings flaring. Is this you? No. The void itself tore. It was not a messy, magical portal. It was a surgical cut. A perfect, black line appeared in the gray fog. It unzipped, revealing a space of cold, perfect, non-existence. And it stepped out. It was not a porcelain drone. This was a warrior. It was 20 feet tall, forged from a material like polished, black obsidian, jointed with seams of liquid silver light. It had no face, just a single, triangular, crimson optic. It carried a long, silver staff that seemed to vibrate, unraveling the very light around it. This was a centurion. It stepped onto the marble dais. The moment its feet touched the platform, a wave of nullification washed out. Akeno gasped, her lightning dying. Kiba's sword flickered. Rias's destructive aura snuffed out. It's like the hoplite, but stronger. Kiba choked. The centurion ignored them. It ignored Naruto. Its crimson optic scanned the leaders. A voice, a perfect, multi-tonal, chiming harmony, echoed from its core. System Governor. Searsex Lucifer. Detected. System Governor. Azazel. Detected. System Governor. Michael. Detected. Its head tilted. Query. Governors. You have gathered. You have consorted with the anomaly. This is a violation of Prime Directive. The system is corrupted. Searsex was on his feet. Who? What? Are you? We are the Evenine Guard. The centurion chimed. We are the architects, the designers of the system. You have so thoroughly broken. Azazel's blood ran cold. Architects. The ones who built the sacred gears. The gods before God. Negative. God was a primary component. A master governor. His sacred gears were unplanned. Flaws in the code. He is deceased. His failed experiment. This system of conflict is now over. The Great Reset has been ordered. Reset, Michael whispered, his serene face now a mask of horror. Purgation of all factions, all governors, and all anomalies. The centurion raised its silver staff. Beginning with the governors, it moved. It was impossibly fast. No, Searsex roared. He didn't hold back. This was not the political Searsex. This was the Mao, a sphere of pure, unadulterated power of destruction, the very concept of annihilation, so dense it was a hole in reality, blasted from his hand. The centurion met it. It slammed the butt of its staff onto the marble. Logic wall. Deploy. A wave of silver light met the destruction. It didn't block it. It unraveled it. It deconstructed the magic, turning the all-consuming void into a harmless spray of red sparks. Searsex stared in horror. My turn. Azazel shrieked, a spear of pure, golden white light, a weapon of God, in his hand. He dove from the air. The centurion didn't even look. It swatted the light spear with its staff. The spear shattered. This is not possible, Azazel roared. It is inevitable. For the Father, Michael cried, his 12 golden wings unfurling. A pillar of holy fire, the pure, cleansing flame of heaven, descended. The centurion spun its staff. It created a vortex, a cyclone of its own nullifying energy. The holy fire was sucked in, consumed, and spat back at Michael. The archangel cried out, blasted by his own corrupted power. This thing was fighting the three most powerful beings in the world at the same time. And it was winning. It had disarmed Azazel, repelled Michael, and nullified Searsex. Governors. Inefficient. Power. Archaic. Verdict. Purge. The Centurion raised its staff for a killing blow, aimed at the staggered Searsex. Get away from him! Rias, Akeno, Kiba, and Kaneko, Naruto's guard, attacked as one. A combined blast of Grimoire destruction, holy lightning, 1,000 swords, and a senjutsu-powered punch. It was a beautiful attack. The Centurion backhanded it. The single, casual, contemptuous motion sent all four of them flying, crashing in a broken heap. They were ants. The Centurion turned back to Searsex. Its crimson optic focused. Its staff hummed, the tip glowing with the power to unmake. Primary threats. Neutralized. Secondary threats. Irrelevant. Now, that's enough. The Centurion froze. It turned. Naruto Uzumaki was standing where he had been, his chair knocked over. His body was blazing. It was not just one power. It was all of them. The golden KCM cloak. The orange markings of Sage Mode. And, for the first time, consciously, perfectly, Welsh Dragon. Balance Breaker. The crimson, divine armor didn't form. It fused. The golden KCM cloak became a flowing, ankle-length coat. Scaled with crimson dragon hide. The sage markings burned through the golden energy. His face was a mask of harmonized power. And from his back, the 9, golden-tailed beast truth-seeking orbs hovered. And were joined by 2, vast, spectral, dragon wings of pure, golden-red energy. The dragon sage avatar. The heresy. The Centurion's crimson optic flared. Its perfect, chiming voice, glitched. HHH. Harmony heresy. Threat level. Omega Prime. Impossible. You should not be able to exist. I've heard that before, Naruto said. His voice was a layered, divine echo. Didraig, Kurama a faint, residual echo and his own. You attack my allies, he said, his new, hybrid form radiating an energy so dense it was cracking the marble platform. You attack my home. He vanished. The Centurion, with its precognitive speed, moved to intercept. It was too slow. Naruto was inside its guard. He didn't use a Rasengan. He didn't use a punch. He grabbed the Centurion's silver, nullifying staff. The staff hissed and screamed, trying to unravel his chakra. It couldn't. It was like trying to unravel a star. The harmony of his power. It had no code. It had no flaw. It was life and domination and nature, perfected. The staff cracked. The Centurion's optic went wide with digital terror. Code. Unmaker. Failing. 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 Naruto snapped the staff over his knee. And you, he growled. Talk. Too much. He drew his fist back. It was wreathed in golden, red, and natural energy. Boost. 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 Didraig was roaring in his mind. A sound of pure, apocalyptic joy. Bijudama. Rasenshuriken. It was not a bomb. It was not a shuriken. It was a singularity. A fist-sized, golden red orb, spinning so fast it screamed, a perfect miniature son of abominable, heretical power. He slammed it into the Centurion's chest. No, the resulting explosion was silent. It was a flash of pure, golden red light that erased the Centurion. The only thing it didn't erase was the platform. Naruto's control was so absolute, the explosion went in, not out. When the light faded, the Centurion was gone. Just gone. Naruto stood, breathing heavily. His avatar form dissolving, leaving him steaming in his sage mode. The silence was absolute. Searsex, Azazel, and Michael were on their feet. Their jaws were agape. They were gods. They were leaders. And they had just been saved. By a human who had just one shot, the thing that had beaten all three of them. Hey, Azazel finally breathed, running a shaky hand through his hair. He, ha 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 ha, A-, harmony heresy. I love it. Searsex just stared. The political game was over. It was shattered. This was not a negotiation. This was a new reality. Naruto-san, he said, his voice awed. But Naruto wasn't looking at them. He was looking at the spot where the Centurion had vanished. A single, flickering piece of its obsidian armor remained. As they watched, it dissolved. But a voice, a final, cold, recorded message, echoed from it. Purge, failed. Anomaly. Confirmed. Omega level. Sending. Final. Report. To Architect. A new voice. A cold, chiming, ancient voice, spoke. Report. Received. Centurion. Your sacrifice is logged. The heresy is stronger than calculated. Direct confrontation is inefficient. The voice paused. Very well. We will counter. With void. Activate. The flaw. Awaken. The dragon of envy. The last fragment of armor dissolved. The summit was silent once more. Azazel's laughter was gone. The dragon of envy. Sirzex looked at Naruto, his face pale. They have another one. A void. To counter your will. Naruto looked at his guard, who were helping each other up. Rias, Akeno, Kiba, Kaneko. They were bruised, battered, and looking at him with absolute, unshakable loyalty. They were his people, and this architect had just declared war. Naruto's sage mode eyes blazed. Let them come, he said, his voice a low, dangerous growl. They'll find out what a heresy can really do. Chapter 6 End. Chapter 7. Arrival's Welcome. The silence that followed the Centurion's final, echoing message was a physical, crushing weight. The white marble platform, cracked and scorched from a battle between gods and logic, felt like a tomb. Sirzex Lucifer, the great Satan, was staring at the spot where the machine had vanished. His crimson hair, usually so perfect, was windswept. He was pale. Michael, the archangel, was on one knee, tending to a burn on his arm, a wound from his own holy fire. Azazel, the governor of the fallen, was running a shaky hand through his black hair, his 12 wings flared in agitation. They had been defeated, systematically, logically, and utterly. And then, they had been saved. All three of them turned, as one, to look at Naruto Uzumaki. He stood, his impossible golden red avatar faded, steam rising from his body in the cold, gray fog of the pocket dimension. His guard, Rias, Akeno, Kiba, and Kaneko, were picking themselves up, bruised and drained, but alive. Harmony heresy. Azazel breathed, the words rolling off his tongue. He started to chuckle, a low, unhinged sound. Dragon of envy. Fox, armored in a dragon. His chuckle became a full-blown, manic laugh. Ha, ha 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 ha. Oh, I love it. Kid, do you have any idea what you just did? You didn't just break their ultimate weapon. You broke their entire thesis. Azazel, be serious, Sirzex snapped. Though his own voice was unsteady. He turned to Naruto, his political mask gone, replaced by a look of profound, unadulterated awe. Naruto-san, your ultimatum. Your demands. That you be considered a new, independent power. He took a deep, shuddering breath. It is no longer a demand. It is a fact. The underworld, and I am certain heaven and the Grigori, will officially recognize your claim. You are, as of this moment, the fourth great faction. A human faction. Michael nodded, standing. Heaven will stand with you, Naruto Uzumaki. That thing, it was a creature of logic and void. You are a force of life. We will aid you in this war, however we can. Naruto just looked at them, his sage mode still active. I don't want your aid. I just want you to stay out of my way. Oh, we'll stay out of your way, kid, don't you worry. Azazel cackled, his excitement overriding all his fear. He was a scientist before he was a leader, and he had just the most impossible data of his life. A fusion of that much raw chakra. It felt like that old demon fox, and sage craft, and D-Drake. All at once. Stable. How? I have to see it. I have to test it. I need to know its limits. Its output. I'm not your lab rat, Azazel. Naruto cut him off, his voice flat. He was tired. The dragon sage avatar had taken a toll. Oh, it's not a test, kid. Azazel's grin was a predatory, knife-sharp thing. It's a welcome. See, I've been studying these sacred gears since before your ancestors were drawing on cave walls. And there's one simple, beautiful rule about the heavenly dragons. He pointed a finger at Naruto's chest. Wherever D-Drake goes, Albion is never far behind. The name was a thunderclap. Albion. The roar in Naruto's mind was not a thought. It was an earthquake. Didraig, who had been quiet, savoring his victory, detonated with a millennia-old, instinctive, bottomless hatred. He is here. The White One. That arrogant bastard. He dares. Partner. He is here. We must fight him. I will not be shown up. I will annihilate him. Naruto flinched, a headache lancing behind his eyes. The dragon's rage was a physical, scalding thing. Settle down, he growled. You're giving me a migraine. Ha, he feels him, doesn't he? Azazel clapped his hands. Yes, I thought so. The architects weren't the only ones who sensed this little party. I took the liberty of sending an invitation. A new light tore through the gray fog. It was not the logic cut of the architect, nor the swirling red of the grimoire. It was a pure, searing, white-silver light, like a star going nova. From it, a young man stepped onto the marble. He looked to be about Naruto's age, with silver-white hair and a calm, almost bored expression. He wore a simple, dark blue versus neck shirt and jeans. He looked normal, but the power, it was the antithesis of Didraig's. Where Didraig was a chaotic, burning, explosive rage, this was a cold, pure, consuming void. A pair of vast, angelic, white-silver energy wings unfolded from his back, casting a cold, pure light. This was Valley Lucifer, the White Dragon Emperor, the Vanishing Dragon. He didn't look at Searsex, his distant relative. He didn't look at Michael. He didn't even look at Azazel, his leader. His pale blue, emotionless eyes found Naruto. And they stopped. A slow, amused, dangerous smile touched his lips. Albion, you dare show your face. I have a new partner. I am complete. Didraig was having a full-blown, psychic tantrum. A new voice, a calm, cool, arrogant and aristocratic voice, echoed in Naruto's mind, originating from the silver-haired boy. Opening square bracket ... Didraig, is that you? My goodness, you sound loud and harmonized. Did you finally find a host who isn't a perverted, weak-willed simpleton? It only took you 5,000 years. I will eat your soul, Albion. Naruto and Valley just stood there, 50 feet apart, staring at each other. As two gods had a screaming match in their heads. Well, Valley said, his voice as calm as his expression. They seem excited. Seems so, Naruto replied, his sage-mode eyes narrowing. This boy, he was strong. As strong as him, maybe stronger. So, Valley said, taking a casual step forward. You're the heresy who stole Didraig from that idiot. I have to say, I'm impressed. You've given him a clarity he's never had. And you're the White One, Naruto said. The one who divides. That's me, Valley said with a simple shrug. The Vanishing Dragon. But you're something else entirely. A Harmony heresy. I've never felt anything like you. He cracked his knuckles. Azazel called me, said you were worth a look. But this is so much more. This is it. This is the true rivalry. The one I've been waiting for my entire life. Azazel was vibrating with glee. The stage is yours, boys. Searsex, Michael, Barrier. Now, you are not going to want to miss this. Searsex and Michael, their own fight forgotten, glanced at each other. They knew this rivalry. It was a force of nature. They acted as one, erecting a massive, multi-layered barrier of angelic and demonic power, sealing Rias and her peerage safely behind it with them. Naruto-san, Rias cried, her hand on the barrier. That's the Vanishing Dragon. He's a descendant of the original Lucifer. He's impossible. Akeno just watched, her knuckles white. Era. Two heavenly dragons, at full power, in one place. This is history. On the stage, Naruto and Valley faced each other. So, Valley said, his bored expression gone, replaced by the sharp, focused look of a predator. Let's see it, then. Let's see. Didraig's new choice. He didn't shout. He didn't roar. He just unleashed. Vanishing Dragon. Balance breaker. An explosion of white-silver light. A suit of sleek, impossibly beautiful, white armor, with 12 angelic, energy wings. Encased him. The pressure alone made the barrier creak. Divine dividing. Naruto's response was just as instant. Welsh Dragon. Balance breaker. He didn't go full avatar. Not yet. He ignited his fused KCM Sage Dragon form. The golden red, scaled cloak. The sage markings. The crimson gauntlets. The 9, hovering, black truth-seeking orbs. The two forces of nature, one a burning, golden red sun. The other a cold, white-silver void, faced each other. And then they clashed. The resulting shockwave shattered the marble platform. The impact was not a sound. It was an absence of sound. A concussive force so great it blew a hole in the pocket dimension, revealing the black, starry void beyond. Searsex and Michael roared, pouring their power into the barrier, which was cracking like glass. Rias and her peerage were thrown from their feet, simply from the aftershock. Naruto and Valley were a blur. A streak of gold red. A streak of white silver. They met in the air, fist to fist. Divide. Valley's wings flared. Naruto felt it instantly. A siphon. A drain. A cold, leaching emptiness. He's having my power. Naruto grunted, thrown back. Yes, partner. That is his cursed power. He halves the power of anything he touches. He steals it and makes it his own. How does it feel, D-Drake? Valley's voice echoed from the white helmet. To be weakened. He vented the stolen, golden red power from his wings, a useless plume of energy. I have no need for your tainted power. It feels, Naruto said, landing, annoying. Naruto adapted. He was a shinobi. Power was just one tool. Valley was a brawler. A god of brawling, but still a brawler. Naruto vanished. Valley's eyes widened inside his helmet. Fast. Naruto was behind him, a Rasengan in his hand. But it was new. Boost. He'd fused it. It was a swirling sphere of golden sage energy, wreathed in D-Drake's crimson dragon fire. Dragon Sage Rasengan. Valley spun, his reflexes inhuman. He didn't block. He divided. Divide. 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 His hand slapped the Rasengan. The attack shrank, its power halved, then halved again, until it was a harmless, fizzling ball of sparks. My power halves all things, heretic, Valley mocked. Your attacks, your body, your soul. You cannot touch me. Then I'll just have to boost faster than you can divide, Naruto snarled. It was the ultimate stalemate. Valley divided. Divide. Naruto boosted. Boost. Valley stole his power, getting stronger. Naruto multiplied his own, getting exponentially stronger. It was an escalation beyond all reason. The pocket dimension was disintegrating. The gray fog was gone. They were fighting in a pure, black void, lit only by their own, divine light. They were laughing. Both of them. Yes. Valley roared, his voice no longer calm, but filled with a wild, pure joy. This is it. A real fight. This is what I was born for. You talk too much. Naruto roared back, loving every second of it. He hadn't had a real fight, a real, joyful brawl, since. He couldn't even remember. This is fun, Naruto Uzumaki. Valley shouted, blasting him with a torrent of white energy. But I'm getting bored of this armor. Let's end this. The air grew cold. Valley's armor shattered, and reformed. Empyrean Juggernaut Overdrive. It was no longer a sleek, humanoid suit. It was a monster. A colossal, bestial, silver-white dragon, covered in spikes. Its wings vast and terrifying. It was a true juggernaut. Juggernaut Drive. Rias screamed from behind the barrier. He's lost his mind. He'll kill us all. No. Look. Azazel's voice was a whisper of pure, scientific awe. His eyes, the armor's eyes, they're clear. He tamed it. He's stable. That's the true power of the White Dragon Emperor, complete. Conscious control of the Juggernaut. Valley, in his monstrous, 80-foot-tall dragon form, roared. The sound shook reality. Naruto, in his golden red cloak, looked small. The sheer shore from the Juggernaut Drive was forcing him back. Partner, he has done it. D-Drake's voice was a panicked, furious shriek. He has unleashed the Juggernaut. We must counter. We must. Ascend. Fuse us. Fuse us all. Now. Naruto grit his teeth. That Dragon Sage avatar. It's too much, too fast. I can't. Not again. You don't need to. Didraig roared. You forget. You have another. The 9. The fox. His chakra. It is yours. Fuse us. Fuse all of it. Naruto stopped. The memory of Kurama. The gift he had been given. The power that was, and always would be, his. He closed his eyes. Kurama. He whispered. Didraig. Let's show him. Our juggernaut. Naruto exploded. It was not the dragon sage avatar. It was bigger. What is that? Kiba whispered, his eyes wide. A pillar of pure, golden energy erupted, 1,000 feet high. It took shape, a head, a body, tails. What in the 9 hells is that? Sears Lucifer shouted, his composure gone. A colossal, golden, 9-tailed fox, made of pure, sun-like energy, stood in the void. The Kurama Chakra avatar, Valley, in his juggernaut drive, stumbled back. A fox, not just a fox, Naruto's voice. Now 100-foot-tall roar, boomed from the avatar's center. He raised his gauntleted hand. Balance, breaker, and the crimson dragon armor, formed, over the golden Kurama avatar. It was a tailed beast juggernaut. A 9-tailed, golden-orange fox, now armored in the crimson, divine scales of the Welsh dragon. 2 vast, dragon wings of pure, red energy erupted from the fox's back. Its roar was a sound that broke worlds. A perfect, impossible, heretical harmony of a biju and a dragon. The pressure alone shattered the barrier Sears and Michael were holding. Valley was ecstatic. Yes, this is my rival, he screamed, his voice one of pure, religious joy. He charged. The white-silver dragon slammed into the golden-red, armored fox. The tailed beast juggernaut caught Valley's punch with one massive, dragon-clawed, fox paw. The avatar's other hand pulled back. Boost, 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 boost. A tailed beast bomb began to form. A sphere of pure, positive and negative chakra, so black it drank the light. And Didraig's power infused it. It became a swirling, black and purple singularity, wreathed in crimson, draconic fire. Naruto didn't throw it, he shoved it, point blank, into Valley's juggernaut armor. Take this. The explosion was a sun. The entire pocket dimension died. It was annihilated, collapsing into a silent, white nothing. When the light faded, they were back on the cracked, marble platform. The Kurama avatar was gone. Naruto was standing, panting heavily, his sage mode flickering. He was exhausted. Valley was on one knee, 50 feet away. His juggernaut drive was shattered. A massive, spider-web fissure ran from its chest plate to its shoulder. His ultimate armor was broken. He had lost. Valley was silent. Then, he started to laugh. It was a quiet, breathless, joyful sound. He stood up, his armor dissolving in a flash of white light, leaving him in his tattered, civilian clothes. You cracked it, Valley said, his voice full of pure, unadulterated awe. He touched his chest. You broke Juggernaut Drive. With one hit, he looked at Naruto, and his face was split in a wide, genuine, sharp-toothed grin. You're the one, Naruto Uzumaki, he said, his voice ringing with newfound purpose. You're the one I'm going to surpass. He didn't wait for a reply. He opened a white-silver magic circle. This was the best fight of my life, he said, his voice giddy. I'll see you soon, rival. And he vanished. Naruto was left alone, the adrenaline fading, leaving him empty. The barrier was gone. The leaders, his guard, they just stared at him. Azazel looked like he'd just seen God. Sears looked like he'd just seen something more powerful than God. Rias Grimori, she wasn't looking at him like a monster, or a rival, or a tool. She was just looking at him with a deep, profound, and utterly terrified respect. And something else, something new, something warm. She walked past her brother. She walked past the archangel. She stopped in front of him. She didn't know what to say. Her mind was reeling. You're bleeding, she whispered, her voice trembling. She pointed, lamely, to a small cut on his cheek. Naruto's eyes refocused. He touched his cheek. Oh, So I am. Rias, in a move that shocked everyone, her brother, her peerage, and especially H. herself, did the only thing that felt real. She stood on her tiptoes. She reached up with a shaking, hesitant hand. And she gently wiped the drop of blood from his cheek. It wasn't a political move. It wasn't a seduction. It was intimate. It was care. Thank you, she whispered. Not for saving her. Not for the fight. Thank you for everything. Naruto looked at her. He saw it. The arrogant, frightened king was gone. This was Rias. He gave her a small, tired, genuine nod. Let's go home, Rias. He held out his hand. She took it. Akano watched them, her smile a little tighter than usual. But it was real. As the Grimoire peerage gathered around their new center, Sirzex turned to Azazel. Well, Azazel, Sirzex said, his voice heavy. It seems, the fourth faction is official. Azazel just grinned, his eyes still fixed on the portal. Naruto and his team were disappearing into faction. Sirzex, my friend, that's not a faction. That's a hyper-power, and he's about to have a void dragon sicked on him by a system architect. His grin widened. This is going to get so much more interesting. Chapter 7 End.